We are ready to rock and roll here on this Thursday morning. It is April 22nd, 2021. You're tuned in to the Big Talker 106.7 FM. You can find us at bigtalkerfm.com. Our live audio stream available each and every morning throughout the course of our broadcast from 7 until 10 a.m. Video portion of the program available through our new YouTube channel. Subscribe to us on the digital platform through YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can call into the program at 910-299-7535. That's 910-299-7535. Quick turnaround again as we get back in the saddle here this morning. I want to give a big tip of the cap to my buddy TK Turbo, our producer, programmer, engineer. He filled in for the last segment or two in yesterday's program so I could get down to Conway to get the swab up my nose. Looks like I have not yet received a call here this morning surrounding a positive COVID test, so it'll be on to Lynchburg, Virginia after our program on Friday for the start of a 3-game baseball series against Liberty. And in doing that, since TK picked me up yesterday morning towards the end of the program, I in turn lend a hand to him last night as I came back into the studios after a quick walk in one of our beautiful nature parks here across the Wilmington area with the family. And then it was to help produce the Wednesday night talk show that you hear on the Big Talker FM with our friend Mark Markley, navigating the complicated and, ever pressing issues surrounding substance abuse in our society. And he has made so many connections over the past 6 months since embarking on this journey in telling stories of hope, recovery, working into a lot of the policies and legislative issues that are on the table across many states with a lot of people who have their boots on the ground surrounding what is a true epidemic and pandemic in our country when you've got hundreds of thousands of people dying of overdose, particularly over the past year, given what we've all been through with the lockdown, in addition to not only drug abuse and the use of narcotics, but also, of course, the pressing issue of alcoholism in our country, issues that, of course, you get glazed over by many of our lawmakers. And, let's throw some money on a program and hope it works, and we never seem to chip away at this issue, though there are many great people on the ground doing a lot of work, yet somehow, some way, the experts, the politicians, they never seem to want to knock on the door of the folks who are living through it to see, how they could maybe lend some thoughts and ideas on how to make a dent on this massive problem across our society. Yeah, that's kind of what I picked up from yesterday as Mark engaged in a pair of conversations, one with a local guy, the other with a man out towards the western part of the country. And they've been working with folks who have dealt with substance abuse. They themselves recovering and working through many of the issues that you see people fighting through on a day-to-day basis as it relates to addiction, that in fact they're waiting anxiously, patiently, while working day to day to help those in need, dealing with this pressing issue, waiting for our lawmakers and those who know more than us, of course, to ask for them to come to the table and let their thoughts be known on what policies or what types of things, may be useful in trying to, help stem this massive issue across our country. We have this platform here on the Big Talker FM, and once I was introduced to Mark after he hosted a home improvement show as a local contractor for years at the old Big Talker FM and over on the AM signal, which you have trouble hearing outside of just a 3-block radius here in the city of Wilmington. But nonetheless, once I was introduced to Mark, I immediately thought that this platform would be useful for him to not only engage our local audience across southeastern North Carolina, but to make connections all over the country to try and connect the dots and bring people together to showcase this massive issue that our society faces and how we can all work together to press those in charge and those in quote-unquote leadership positions It's kind of ironic, right? In that many of our lawmakers, given the fact that there are trillions of dollars spent each year by lobbyists to twist the arms of many of our lawmakers to come up with this bill or promote this program, yet many of the issues that they try and take a crack at, they continue to get worse in many instances, yet we continue to spend more money. The lobbyists continue to twist the arms of our lawmakers, and those impacted or those who may be on the ground with expertise and analysis that could actually help improve the situation for fellow Americans, they never seem to have a seat at the table. Only the elites, only those with the money are the ones that, of course, are making the decisions up in Washington, D.C. It's amazing how all of this works. And with that being said, I want to remind you that this portion of the program is brought to you by science, data, and the experts. As King Cooper announced Wednesday that most pandemic-related restrictions here in North Carolina will be lifted on June 1st. That includes capacity limits on businesses, along with distancing requirements. He also said that the statewide mask mandate also might be adjusted depending on what the key metrics look like in late May. The Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, Dr. Mandy Cohen, during this news briefing, which remains all virtual, one reporter did ask the question as to when he thinks, meaning the king, thinks that he'll actually engage in face-to-face conversation with members of the media. His response to that, well, hopefully soon. He is vaccinated along with the DHH secretary, many members of the news media, particularly if you go up into Raleigh and around the state capitol. I hate to assume, but I would assume that a good portion of those media members have been vaccinated as well. Yet the all virtual virtue signaling news conferences continue for the king. The first goal is June 1st with stable metrics and the vaccine, says the doctor. Then we can look to lift some restrictions. If you, millions of North Carolinians out there, if you want restrictions lifted, we need to get to 2/3 of adults vaccinated in our state. That was the goal set by our governor and his leading doctor within the Department of Health and Human Services yesterday. The governor set a goal of getting at least one dose of the vaccine in 2/3 of adults in North Carolina in order to lift the restrictions. To date, about 47% of adults statewide, 77% of senior citizens have had their first dose of the two-shot regimen, according to the statistics put out by DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services department here in North Carolina. Nearly 36% of North Carolina adults are fully vaccinated, including 71% of seniors, and that outpaces the national rate, despite the fact that many other states, similar types of situations have been open for months, with not much of a difference as far as how they've, quote-unquote, done with COVID. And again, as far as when the governor will actually hold face-to-face news briefings with members of the press, he looks forward to doing them soon. I got to say, I've had the fortunate opportunity to be able to travel, as you know, all across the country in the past 3 or 4 months. And this guy just doesn't get it. Doesn't seem like Governor Cooper gets much or gets out much, only maybe when he's announcing his bid for re-election in our state in Lower Manhattan at private fundraisers, or traveling to Tampa for private fundraisers, or the state of California to raise money for his re-election campaign. And then, of course, holding many of his travel records close to the chest, so members of the media actually have to file lawsuits. What was it, 24 media outlets at some point over the past year have filed suit against Governor Cooper in the state of North Carolina to release public information related to his travel to certain parts of the country in the build-up to the election of 2020. Not that everyday North Carolinians would know that sort of stuff, despite the fact 24 news outlets filed lawsuits, a lawsuit joining in on with each other. That story seemed to quickly get brushed off as to, well, what's to hide if everything was on the up and up as far as your travel goes? So obviously he has not been outside the state of North Carolina, given the fact that we share a border with a relatively open state just to our south, and a quick trip to the Palmetto State. I was there yesterday, there and back, 72 miles between Wilmington and Conway, and you cross over the state line and, well, showing a sense of freedom that is unavailable in places like Wilmington, Raleigh, Charlotte, and out to the mountains. And in regards to the whole mask thing, it's a personal choice, and I get it. No need to stare at me if I'm walking down the street, across the street from you, by myself, without a mask on. Can't really get my head around the need to wear a mask while walking or running on a wide open city block, park, beach. I just don't get it. And if there's someone who can explain the science behind that or give me a logical explanation as to why you choose to do so, I'd be glad to listen to you. I'd also be glad to direct you to a mental health professional. I mean, just look. And again, I had the opportunity to get down to Texas, Florida. They've been open for months. We'll be in Georgia next weekend. Get to go to Virginia over the next few days. So that'll be a different type of scenario, similarly to my trip up to Chapel Hill, which is a lot different as far as how people are acting towards one another from what we see here on the coast. Again, bless her heart, that elderly woman who I thought was going to ask me to turn and cough to try and get into the baseball stadium, full cavity search to make sure I was COVID-free so I could broadcast a baseball game in a room by myself for 4 hours. Florida, Texas, South Carolina, they've all lifted the mandate for government buildings, restaurants, restrictions for large gatherings. June 1st will be the target date here in the state of North Carolina, according to King Cooper. When we look at our schools and our school children, schools have been open across many of these states that we've just mentioned without any sort of leniency to continue virtual learning. Yet that's been the pathway that has been set forth for us by the king and his experts, brought to you by the science and the data. Heck, I mean, even small business owners, chefs, restaurateurs have moved from places like New York to Florida and elsewhere just to do business. This is why, well, we've held Governor Ron DeSantis in such high regard. He's pushed back against the criticism and has laid it out for us. We are an oasis of freedom in a nation that is suffering in many parts of the country under the yoke of oppressive lockdowns. In fact, again, one of the few things that I enjoy about social media is when you log on, it'll give you a reminder of where you were, what you posted from a year before, 5 years before, 7 years before. And I have a good friend, and she's been on the program. She and her family travel a ton, or used to travel a ton, particularly abroad. She came on, I want to say, a year and a half ago after they just arrived back from a trip to Cuba to give us a little breakdown as to the facade that the island nation projects on, well, many Americans as to how great life is down there until you walk a block beyond the city streets where some of the stores have products on certain days and some of the stores are open with nothing in their stores because the truck didn't show up for a few days, and you just have to deal with it. she went the homeschooling route with her two boys over the past year, and they've traveled, they've done all sorts of things, and in fact, this week, I see that she's up in Jamestown, Yorktown, doing the whole American history lesson with her kids. And they are truly enjoying their lives together. And, they may be few and far between as far as the family units coming closer together during this crazy time. And it's not all, peaches and cream, of course, within families, no matter how good it looks on social media. But you got to give it to those folks out there that have come together during this crazy time with their family members. And it's kind of been a give and take for myself and my family. There's no question about it. In due part, we can look at and place excuses all day long, but a good portion of this has to do to the fact that there's been just so much double speak. Politicians, the elites, providing information out of both sides of their mouth on an almost a daily basis creates a very confusing situation for a lot of different people and a lot of different reasons. Common sense has left the building. And we see that as evident when the king steps behind the podium once a week to conduct his all-virtual news briefing. Or when I'm getting the temperature check to go into a ballpark wearing a mask and getting asked 36 different questions as to what I've been up to over the past few days so I could live my life. Pretty amazing spot we're at. Again, portions of our program brought to you by science, data, and the experts, as the king announces Wednesday that most pandemic-related restrictions in our state could be lifted on June 1st. We're 24 minutes past the hour here on the Big Talker FM.
Hey guys, this is Alan Perry from Perry's Emporium, and it's my annual Diamond Expo. And guys, I've got millions of dollars in diamond inventory for you to choose from this month. Loose diamonds, diamond fashion, diamond engagement rings, and so much more. It's raining diamonds here at Perry's Emporium in the month of April, so don't miss out. Come see me this month at the corner of Shipyard Independence or online at perrysemporium.com for the biggest diamond expo ever at Perry's Emporium. I'll see you when you get here. Perry's Emporium at the corner of Shipyard Independence and on the web at perrysemporium.com.
Want to see inside more than 40 of the area's finest new homes for free? Visit the 35th Annual Parade of Homes presented by the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association. Homes are open from noon to 5 p.m. the weekends of April 24th and 25th and May 1st and 2nd. Be sure to stop by the 2021 Showcase Community River Lights. Visit WilmingtonParadeOfHomes.com for details and to tour homes virtually. This event is possible thanks to Builders First Source, First Bank, Piedmont Natural Gas, Star News Media, and Trust Builders Group.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. Tune in Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. for Objection to the Form, covering civil litigation, real estate issues, and intellectual property. That's Objection to the Form, Thursdays 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Hear Tom Goolsbee on the Joe Catenacci Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
I'm State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better state. We are one of the fastest growing and most reviewed insurance agencies in Wilmington. That's because our customers love the personalized attention that we give to you. Let us help you get to a better state by visiting our website at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
students. How old were you when you paid off your student loan? Are you still paying for it? Student debt can be crippling, and today it's even more important to keep debt in check. Help your student build a brighter financial future by encouraging them to attend Cape Fear Community College for the first 2 years. CFCC costs thousands less than four-year schools, and classes in our university transfer program are accepted at four-year schools across the state and beyond. Help your kids get a head start academically and financially at CFCC. Learn more at cfcc.edu.
Minutes past the hour. Our phone number is 910-299-7535. Question everything. I mean, that was like one of the pillars of the foundation instilled in me. One, first from my parents, and then second, I'll admit, through Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic School in Milltown, New Jersey. And then it was only until I started to question some of the standards and ways of life within the Catholic Church, we get a little separated from that situation. Nonetheless, folks, just happy today to be told what to do, how to do it, and just go about your lives. Just make sure you drop the government check in my bank account on the 1st and the 15th so I can buy a little food and enjoy my life, I guess, to the standards in which you set for me and the rest of us. Teach your children that thinking for themselves is counterculture these days. Integration is the new racism. Up is down, left is right. And at least that's what some of the folks in this country are trying to tell you. As we move through our broadcast today, it's Earth Day, folks. Planet Earth. Billions and billions of years old. Are you aware that when Earth Day was founded, this is from our friend Bob Dixon, who is a gem on social media. Are you aware that when Earth Day was founded, they were concerned about global cooling? Then it was global warming. Now it's climate change. Yes, concerned about global cooling. And as we've talked with geologist Greg Ratestone over the years, if you look throughout the course of human history, the ice ages on planet Earth, much worse for mankind compared to when we have seen global temperature changes on the rise in the warming periods over the course of 4 billion years, by the way. This planet has been around. So I guess with all that air quality improvement that we have seen over the course of 40 years since Earth Day began, the planet has gotten a little hotter. And because all of you are stupid. You breathing air and all those cows out there releasing methane into the atmosphere. We have just ruined this planet. Folks, we're living in a clown show. People, this is their religion now. The same folks who are running on the beach with a mask on by themselves. They're cut from the same cloth. In fact, in a little while, we'll be talking with Dylan Epp. He is the property manager at Orton Plantation over in Brunswick County. He'll be talking about prescribed burns that are underway across the region as a means to help the environment. Burning forests help the environment? Well, as Dylan will tell us in just a little while, the controlled burns that occur across the state of North Carolina, unlike some of the situations that you see, particularly out west, California specifically, annual burning actually helps conserve, preserve, and sustain our woodlands and the environment. It helps improve forest health and restore its habitat. In fact, you may have noticed smoke billowing into the air over the last number of weeks, as controlled burns have been held when the weather conditions are, what they've been for the last couple of weeks. Controlled burns across more than 6,000 acres of Orton Plantation have been going on to help improve forest health. And Dylan is going to give us a little update as to why that is conducted annually. Bit more detail, the safety protocols that are surrounding how that all takes place. Because today, it's all about planet Earth in all of its glory. 3.8, 4.5 billion years old, planet Earth. And we are the ones destroying the planet, apparently. As we breathe in oxygen, release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and of course, that nice piece of red meat that you enjoy, all leading to the destruction of this great planet based on the methane, the cow farts that are released. Literally, this is what they're telling us here. Everything is climate change. In fact, when we get back, we'll hear from one of the dictators of the new Green Deal in all of her glory, as Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently stepped in front of the microphone and made a horse's rear end out of herself based on the commentary that you hear. But this is taken as gospel by many in our country. I repeat myself, this is a complete clown show.
I'm a unicorn. Yes, one of those. Everyone's trying to find me, but most can't, unless they're ZipRecruiter. If you've hired before, you understand it's quite hard to find a unicorn. You know, someone who's perfect for your role, but somehow ZipRecruiter manages to do it fast. Talk about magical. And right now, you can go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try it for free. ZipRecruiter's technology finds candidates with the right experience, like me, and actively invites them to apply to your job. ZipRecruiter knows you want more than just great resumes. You want brilliant people who can help your business shine. That's why they make hiring these people easy. But I'm just a majestic unicorn. Don't take my word for it. Listen to him.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. The family of Dante Wright is preparing for his funeral today. It comes just days after guilty verdicts were handed down for the former Minneapolis police officer whose killing of George Floyd set off nationwide protest and a reckoning over racism. Wright died April 11th after a white Brooklyn Center police officer shot the 20-year-old black man during a traffic stop. Her chief said it appeared the officer mistakenly used her gun instead of her taser. The officer resigned soon after and is charged with second-degree manslaughter. Governor Roy Cooper plans to lift all mandates on social distancing and gathering limits by June 1st if coronavirus metrics remain stable and residents continue to get vaccinated. The statewide mask mandate could be ended once 2/3 of North Carolinians have gotten at least one vaccine. Cooper thinks it will be hard to reach the 2/3 threshold by the end of May, but could be reached shortly thereafter. More than 47% of adults have gotten at least one shot. Nearly 36% are fully vaccinated. UNCW announcing it will offer both virtual and in-person graduation ceremonies next month. The university will hold multiple in-person events on May 7th and 8th in Trask Coliseum, as well as a virtual ceremony for students who prefer that option. All graduates will be recognized individually. All ceremonies will be live streamed with captions for remote viewing, and all departmental celebrations will be virtual. Some good news for New Hanover County school students. The county will hold traditional graduation ceremonies this year. COVID precautions will be in place, including a ticket requirement for entry. Each high school has a limited number of tickets and will distribute them to students and families. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Well, big time changes in store for us today. We are much cooler than our Wednesday. Today's highs are going to be about 15 degrees cooler. We'll only top off in the low to middle 60s, but we'll still see plenty of sunshine throughout the day today with a light wind out of the north, and we can see gusts as high as 15, perhaps 20 miles per hour. But overall, though, we're turning quite cool late tonight with clear skies dropping down to the upper 30s and the low 40s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
"21 minutes in front of the hour here on the Big Talker FM. Our number is 910-299-7535. And caller, you're with us this morning. Happy Earth Day to you, all of you humans out there destroying planet Earth one car ride at a time. Good morning.
Hey, this is Wrecking Ball. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Make a good CV handle, right? Anyway, I forget sometimes. You know, I don't have the best memory. And I was educated in the state of North Carolina. But wasn't Earth Day founded by the fellow that killed his girlfriend and stuffed her in a trunk for like 3 years?
And then,
isn't that correct? Isn't that the same guy? He stuffed his girlfriend in a trunk, killed her?
Huh. I never heard that story.
I forget, but yeah, do a little research on that. I'm pretty sure that's the same dude. But that's all I got. You have a great day.
Yeah, and you do as well. I'm looking real forward to the leader of China speaking today to nations through Joe Biden's virtual climate summit that has been organized by our noble man, our very empathetic commander-in-chief.
I get up in the morning and look at Jill and say, where the hell are we?
And that's right. The head of China's Communist Party, Xi Jinping, will give a speech today to global leaders surrounding China's efforts to combat climate change. That's a good one. All right, in the state of North Carolina, before we get back to saving planet Earth, one carbon dioxide molecule at a time. Up in the northeastern part of the state yesterday, protesters took to the streets Elizabeth City, wanting more answers surrounding the fatal shooting of a man by a sheriff's deputy. Oh, I omitted the key part there, a black man. Andrew Brown Jr. was shot while trying to drive away from officers, apparently, who were attempting to serve a warrant for his arrest. It occurred around 8:30 Wednesday morning. Pretty familiar with a lot of North Carolina, given that I've been here for 17 years. Forgive me if I mispronounce the county. Pasquotank County Sheriff Tommy Wooten. I would say Wooten back in the day. Wooten, because the D's and T's get mixed up. Hooked on Phonics worked for me back at Our Lady of Lourdes. Deputies were conducting a search of the 400 block of Perry Street in Elizabeth City yesterday morning, trying to serve an arrest warrant, and the deputy involved in the shooting, according to the sheriff, now, of course, on administrative leave as the SBI looks into this incident. The sheriff did say that the deputies had body cameras on, so I'm sure once this footage is released, there are processes in place here in the state of North Carolina, different than maybe Minnesota or the state of New York. State statutes differ in certain circumstances in regards to how quickly information is disseminated out to the public. The sheriff did say that they're working to release the body camera footage of the shooting, and we'll leave it at that at this point because we don't have any further details on what exactly occurred, and there's no point of making assumptions when we don't have the whole story. It's not hard to do. That's the information we have right now. Of course, many people, given the heightened tension out there on the heels of the verdict of the Chauvin trial this week and the narrative that has been laid out there for years, well, people are all riled up. Because that's what at least one portion of our society gains more and more influence over the people by keeping others riled up. And that brings us back to the religion of climate change. In fact, we were blessed to hear Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just the other day give her thoughts on climate change.
The climate crisis is a crisis born of injustice, and it is a crisis born of the pursuit of profit at any and all human and ecological cost. That's right. Which means that we must recognize in legislation that the trampling of indigenous rights is a cause of climate change. The trampling of racial justice is a cause of climate change, because we are allowing people and we are allowing ourselves to make sure, we are allowing folks to deny ourselves human rights and deny people the right to health care, the right to housing and education.
I'm just really confused. It just went right over my head. The trampling of indigenous rights is a cause of climate change. Again, I'm not a very smart man. I do know what love is. If you can call and just break that down into simpleton terms, I'd be happy to take your phone call, particularly if you're one of the climate change phenomenon that we see out there. Everything is climate change. Corporate welfare causes climate change. Gun control causes climate change. War causes climate change. Taxes cause climate change. Regulations cause climate change, which is why you can't afford a home or something like that. It seems as if folks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, of course, had people behind her clapping and celebrating these comments, seems as if they've done a pretty good job in cornering the market when we talk about the environment. Because, I mean, how could somebody that wants limited government, less regulations, how could that sort of mindset want and push it towards clean water, clean air, and less litter on the streets? Somehow, some way, they have cornered the market and have a monopoly on caring about the environment. I am not allowed to care about the environment. And only if we limit private sector growth, only if we strip you of your job in turn for a government check, only if we spend massive amounts of your money through this program or this well-intended initiative will we make an impact on the global climate of planet Earth. And later today, we get to hear from the head of the Chinese Communist Party, who will speak at a virtual summit with our guy, Joe Biden, organizing the Climate Summit today. We'll get to hear from the leader of the Chinese Communist Party himself. President Biden has pledged to lower U.S. greenhouse gas emissions by 50% from levels that were seen back in 2005. Well, we've got some positive headlines for you here this morning, and maybe Grandpa Joe missed the memo. The good news is, well, greenhouse gas emissions in the United States has been decreasing over the past 15 years. And one of the big reasons is because we've tapped into something known as natural gas through the processes of what is known as fracking. This is, in fact, why we have seen lower U.S. greenhouse gas emissions over the past 15 years, all in the while providing great economic opportunity and wealth for folks living in many depressed areas across our country. Yet today, we'll virtue signal a little further, and we'll hear from the Chinese Communist president to tell us about how we can all save planet Earth. As we again leave you for the segment, brought to you in part by the science, the data, and the experts, we'll leave you with one of the big experts herself on global climate change.
The climate crisis is a crisis born of injustice, and it is a crisis born of the pursuit of profit at any and all human and ecological cost. Which means that we must recognize in legislation that the trampling of indigenous rights is a cause of climate change. The trampling of racial justice is a cause of climate change, because we are allowing people and we are allowing ourselves to make sure, we are allowing folks to deny ourselves human rights and deny people the right to health care, the right to housing and education.
Everything is climate change.
I get up in the morning, look at Jill and say, where the hell are we?
It's a dumpster fire.
Folks, we all know ongoing road construction and traffic can weigh heavy on your vehicle. Since 2006, O'Leary's Automotive Repair has provided comprehensive repair services at affordable prices to get you back on the road in no time. Their ASE certified technicians will help you find a cost-effective repair and maintenance alternatives. O'Leary's has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
When you purchase a Golden Technology lift and sleep chair from US Med Express at 1733 Dawson Street, you get the benefit of a lift assist chair, a recliner, a memory button chair, a zero-gravity chair, a Trendelenburg device, and a sleep chair, all in one of the most comfortable pieces of furniture you have ever experienced. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible, and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We interrupt to bring you this horrible news. Experts say we'll see larger numbers and different breeds of mosquitoes to wreak havoc on your backyard, making this year one of the worst.
Enough using Culex around here, mosquito.
Yeah. Experts also say there is only one defense against this onslaught. Call the Bugman from Bugno Pest Control.
That's Mr. Bugno to you, pal.
Bugno Pest Control's mosquito-killing formula keeps your yard bug-free. Call Bugno Pest Control, 910-367-2501, or visit bugnopestcontrol.com. Take back your yard.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Moving along this morning, so as we go from the guide, or rather the god of climate justice, I think I may need to bring you some commentary from the god of social justice here in just a moment. But we'll take a call first at 910-299-7535. Caller, you're with us. Good morning.
Comrade Joe, how are you?
Jersey Mike, are you the one that's going to thread the needle here and give us some detail as far as what the god of climate justice delivered to us, that beautiful gem from the other day?
Yes, I am no scientist, but I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express. And no, it's all about control. It's, nobody believes it. I don't know of maybe one person that I actually know that actually even believes in this stuff. It's all about control. At the end of the day, they want us all in the same little concrete bunkers eating soil and green.
Soil and green.
So whatever they have to do or say, it's, and the people behind them clapping, I like, how much do they make an hour? Just, sign me up. I'll stand there and clap. What the heck? Nobody believes this. The earth is a living thing. All you have to do to debunk them is say, do you believe there were dinosaurs? Well, yeah. Well, the whole planet at one time was tropical. And he says, well, do you believe in the Ice Age? Yeah, good movie. At one time, the whole place, they had glaciers down into Mexico. So it goes one way and the other. So now we just happen to be in the warming stage, which I prefer. I don't know about you, but I was glad to get out of the snow-capped Jersey and move down here. So, take your pick. Would you rather it be tropical or Ice Age? So that's what I got for it.
I can't believe you're calling from a phone this morning while in your vehicle driving and contributing to the destruction of planet Earth today. Shame on you, Jersey Mike.
Well, I intend to say 3 Hail Marys and 2 Our Fathers when I park the vehicle. And it's a big truck, too, so that makes it even worse.
And then you're good for the week, right? Until you go and do something next week with your penance here this morning.
That's it. Well, Joe, I have nothing more to add to this conversation. Yes. You have a great day.
Yes, why? Well, we all know why. And one parent described it so beautifully during the midst of the pandemic while their kids tried to get back into the classroom.
It's a dumpster fire.
Yes, so you think we are leading to the destruction of planet Earth, you, me, and the cows out there that are ripping out some methane here this morning at a farm near you. Earth, by the way, 4.5 billion years old. And there's been life, by the way, on it for nearly that long. Not human life. 3.8 billion years, in fact. The first bacteria was detected on planet Earth based on the science and the data. Portions of our program, by the way, brought to you by the science, the data, and the experts. First, there was bacteria, and later, the first multicellular life. And then the first complex creatures in the sea, on the land. And then finally the great sweeping ages of animals, the amphibians, the dinosaurs, alas, the mammals. Each one enduring millions on millions of years. Great dynasties of creatures rising, flourishing, dying away. All this against a background of continuous and violent upheaval. Mountain ranges thrust up or eroded away, volcano eruptions, oceans rising and falling, whole continents moving, and endless, constant, violent change, colliding, buckling to make mountains over millions of years. Earth has survived everything in its time. It certainly will survive us. What was it, yesterday on the way back? I'm getting tired, frankly. Just when I'm in the car, talk radio is on. Particularly when we're in this region, it's on the Big Talker. You need to listen to your product to tweak it, adjust it to make sure it's up to your standards. So you are entertained and informed on a daily basis. But as I got into Conway yesterday and then on my way back around lunchtime, of course, the 12 to 3 period of time these days is vacated with the guides for the Rush Limbaugh show. And frankly, I'm just getting bored listening to it. If I wanted to go listen to Rush, I can go to his archives and listen. But yesterday, they played a phone call from Charlton Heston surrounding Earth Day, and he read an excerpt from Jurassic Park, the book. And he laid it out there, I think, in a way that really humbles us as the tiny little ants that we are here on planet Earth. 1,000,000 years in Earth time is nothing. 4.5 billion years old. This planet lives and breathes on a much vaster scale. I think I was one with the Earth a few times, but it was out in the desert in Las Vegas for about an 8-hour period. I was one with the Earth at that point. Whew, what a wild ride that was. It's hard to even fathom Earth's slow and powerful rhythms. And we haven't got the humility to try. We've been residents on planet Earth for the blink of an eye. If we're gone tomorrow, the Earth will not miss us. Yet somehow, some way, the god of climate change, in the form of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and many like her, seem to have all the answers. And only they have the answers with a little bit more of your money and a little bit less of your freedom. As we hit the top of the hour, our call-in number is 910-299-7535.
Keeping Oak Island informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Being challenged in court, a federal lawsuit filed against Governor Ron DeSantis, who signed the bill into law a couple of days ago. The suit contends a pro-police law is unconstitutional. Meanwhile, similar statutes hitting the books in some other states.
In Oklahoma, Governor Kevin Stitt signed a bill calling for a year in jail and a $5,000 fine for anyone blocking a public street. The measure also grants criminal and civil immunity to motorists that kill or injure someone while fleeing a riot. Earlier this week, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a similar bill, which also exempts people who drive over protesters blocking the street while keeping arrested protesters in custody until a first appearance. GOP-controlled legislatures have been considering the so-called anti-riot measures since nationwide demonstrations following George Floyd's murder. I'm Tim McGuire.
In Elizabeth City, North Carolina, protesters on the streets after a sheriff deputy shot and killed a black man while serving a search warrant yesterday. An eyewitness claims Andrew Brown was shot while trying to drive away. Court records indicate the 42-year-old had a history of drug charges and a misdemeanor drug possession conviction. Citing what he calls tremendous progress on a compromised police reform bill, Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina says that we could be nearing a breakthrough on that complex issue.
I think we are on the verge of wrapping this up in the next week or two, depending on how quickly they respond to our suggestions.
President Biden about to convene a two-day virtual climate summit. Some 40 world leaders will be involved, and the House will be voting later today on D.C. statehood legislation. Stock futures lower on Wall Street this morning. Dow futures down 18 points. NASDAQ futures off 30. S&P futures 5 points in the red. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following are real-life stories from Trinity Debt Management.
My story begins with debt, a lot of debt.
I used my credit cards as a source of income.
It was not a good situation.
I couldn't pay my bills. The interest on the cards was really high.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I initially was scared to call, and immediately I felt relief.
They contacted all of our creditors, and they put us on a plan for success.
Trinity will consolidate your accounts into one easy-to-manage monthly payment, reduce your interest, and possibly improve your credit score. You'll save thousands.
I've been able to pay off close to $15,000.
We're doing a lot better. Please pick up the phone and see how affordable and easy it is to pay off your debt.
It's a godsend.
We're debt-free for keeps.
Call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
A Hong Kong journalist has been convicted of making false statements to obtain information for an investigation into an attack on pro-democracy protesters.
Bao Choi was in tears after hearing the verdict. She's become the first journalist ever convicted for looking up car registrations in Hong Kong. The magistrate ruled that the defendant had knowingly made a false claim that she did so for transport-related purposes, while in fact she was pursuing her investigation. The judgment came as Ms. Choi's documentary won a local press award. Local media groups warned her guilty verdict would deal yet another blow to investigative journalism in the Chinese territory and to press freedom in general.
That's the BBC's Martin Yip. The Russian military has conducted massive drills in Crimea involving dozens of Navy ships, hundreds of warplanes, thousands of troops, show of force amid tensions with Ukraine. News and analysis at townhall.com. Concerns that inflation is about to awaken from its long slumber, partly because of huge government spending.
Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers remains a trusted Democratic policy advisor, but he's been critical of massive spending, like the $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill President Biden signed last month. Summers says all that money in people's hands will raise demand in an economy where production has been weakened by the pandemic. Summers notes three paradigms used by economists to predict inflation: the output gap theory, the monetarist theory, and the fiscal theory are all flashing red lights right now for inflation. Bob Agnew reporting.
Federal inspectors say a Baltimore plant under contract to produce the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine suffered from numerous problems. That facility is now offline as J&J and Emergent Biosciences say they're working to correct shortcomings at that facility. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here! The champ is here!
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore.
Back here on the Big Talker FM at 910-299-7535. That's 910-299-7535 is our number if you'd like to call in. You can find us at BigTalkerFM.com. Video portion of the program available through our new YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Big Talker FM. All of our great content on YouTube. Of course, you can find us through Facebook and Twitter as well. Our mobile app now available through the Apple iStore for your iPhone and the Google Play Store for your Android. Take us wherever you may be through your handheld device. 910-299-7535, our call-in number. And caller, you're with us this morning just after 8 o'clock. I hope you are enjoying this beautiful planet that we call Earth today for all that it is.
Oh, good morning. Yeah, Earth is lovely, especially in the springtime.
It certainly is.
Everything's green, flowers are blooming, bees are buzzing, but, you know, the world's going to hell in a bucket.
Well, at least, we humans are taking the world into, or at least our society, into hell in a handbag. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm an old deadhead, so I say hell in a bucket. So...
I was one once with the Earth, but it was on a trip to Las Vegas, and I don't remember much after, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I've spent a few more hours there than you have, but I know where you're at. In another lifetime.
No doubt. So what's on your mind, man?
Listening to all the politicians giving their speeches yesterday, I'm talking in the last few days, from Joe Biden. I believe his speech was written by Obama, one of them, Michael or Barack, whatever. And Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, all of them are an embarrassment to this country. They make me sick. And them letting people like AOC and Ayanna Pressley and Maxine Waters go off on their radical speeches. I mean, they can believe that, maybe they do believe that, humans are causing climate change and whatnot, but that's not what it's all about. When AOC is up there saying that housing is a right and health care is a right, well, they're not natural rights. They're not inalienable rights. And it's all about, the grand conspiracy to destroy the middle class, to take away our rights and provide us with economic slavery through taxation and, socialism. So the whole government, and I'm talking about the mainstream media and the information censors and live broadcasters of Facebook and Twitter, and half of the country is, they get their information from either this Facebook, Twitter, and the mainstream media, and so they are trained how to think, and they're, we're given all these lies. It's all part of this, I think, some kind of, in a way, Marxist revolution to destroy the fabric of the country in order to bring this socialism. And basically, how did we let all these people become lawmakers with the power to control our lives, who hate this country and who are out to destroy the American Christian nuclear family? They make me sick, and I know that the whole country is either sick to their stomach or in la la land.
And that's from a deadhead, huh? A retired deadhead. How about that? Who would have thunk there are people like you out there?
Yes, sir. I'm pretty mad at them. Yeah, I haven't. Mickey Hart and Bobby, they put on a lot of shows, functions, events to raise money for Democrats. So I guess, yeah, that's a former
Yeah,
thing
you're
for me.
retired.
I'm not going to be supporting them. Yeah, I'm not supporting them anymore. They're in California La La Land, you know.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoy going off the La La Land every once in a while, but I come back to reality, and that's the good thing about those types of things.
Oh yeah, well I spent some time in California, and I love the people there, and it's beautiful. But if you ever talk politics with them, oh goodness, oh yeah, everybody out there believes, oh no, health care should be free, education should be free, borders should be open, and I'm like, you understand that you're getting taxed to pay for everybody else, right? They're like, oh no, we just stop providing for our military, and then we'll have enough money to take care of everybody. That's what they all think. So I had to come back home to this coast.
No doubt. Well, welcome back, and I'm happy to have you a part of our program. Thanks so much for the call, brother.
Thank you. Good morning. Bye.
Good morning to you. Have a great day. Good to have callers that we're not accustomed to hearing. We appreciate you and all those folks out there who may be on the fence for giving us a call and letting your thoughts be heard. I think there are a lot of folks out there that are along the same thought train as our previous caller here this morning. 13 minutes past the hour on the Big Talker FM, 910-299-7535. I want to welcome my most favorite friend who has studied the earth for the better part of his entire professional career, and his name is Greg Wrightstone, and he is with us here this morning. Greg, happy Earth Day to you, my friend.
Oh, back at you, Joe. I couldn't be better.
I mean, what a
well,
beautiful...
I guess it could be.
Yeah, what
it
a beautiful...
$100 bills falling out of the sky.
I mean, well, the government's trying to win us over with some of that, which is why many small businesses can't find gainful employees these days because we're dropping $100 out of the sky for this person and that person and everyone else. I just want to get your thoughts on this Earth Day, of course. Why not bring in a geologist who studies the Earth for a living, just to give us some thoughts, because later on this morning we'll also be talking with our forestry officials on prescribed and controlled burns. I mean, who thought burning woodlands would actually help preserve the environment? It sounds like a type of a flip-flop from what you hear in places like California when we talk about wildfires and the cause of these wildfires.
Indeed, and when you have them on, ask them about how much wood we're shipping to Great Britain and Europe for them to burn as fuel. It's qualifying. If you cut down entire forests of mature trees and ship it to Europe or burn it in a what would normally be a coal-fired electricity generation facility, that's considered renewable energy. And the state qualifies. They can meet their requirements by cutting down entire forests and use it to create electricity. It's crazy. What do we have to destroy the earth to save it? I mean, it's crazy. But John Kerry handed us a great gift yesterday. I don't think he realized it. In an interview with CNN, he said that if the U.S. and China both went to zero CO2 emissions today, it would have nothing to do with it, to have no effect on the climate or the environment. Get that? If both of us, now bear in mind, the United States and China both amount to 45% of the carbon dioxide emissions in the world. He said if we both went to zero today, it would have absolutely no effect on Earth's temperature. Well, it was outstanding. It was dumbfounding that he would actually say that and admit it. I mean, he's wrong about most things, but he was right about this. And it was, my God. So we could get rid of 50% of the CO2 emissions in the Earth, basically, and it won't have anything to do with what they're trying to do. So what he's saying is everything that we're trying to do and that Joe Biden and all these world leaders are attempting to do, except China and India and Africa and Asia, but all these Western world are trying to do is for naught. It will have zero effect. We're going to spend another $2.3 trillion after we already spent trillions of dollars of hidden climate change supposed solutions in that COVID relief bill. So we're just we're lighting $1,000 bills and using it to light cigars. It's crazy.
Greg,
it's just nuts.
It is a clown show, really. When you break it down, you have kind of a logical, commonsensical discussion on some of these ridiculous policies, and the comments that are made by some of the clowns out there is just never ceases to amaze me. Why is it that it only seems like those on the left side of the political scale, care about the environment? People like you and me who maybe tilt towards the center right with our political ideology and believe that maybe the private sector could in fact innovate and work towards various solutions to solve many of the issues our society faces. Why is it that Democrats can only have a monopoly on caring about the environment and this religion of climate change?
Well, you and I care about the environment. We care about the environment. It's just that we're sensible environmentalists, aren't we? And there are a lot of these people out there. I've just Dr. Patrick Moore, he was a co-founder of Greenpeace. He's now on the board of directors of the CO2 Coalition. I'm not sure if you're aware, I joined the CO2 Coalition. I'm their executive director now. I'm leading that group of some of the top scientists in the world. I just worked with a fellow by the name of Morten Jodal. He's the leader of the Climate Realists of Norway. They published my book in Norwegian, and it's created a firestorm over there. I've been attacked by some of the top Norwegian politicians, and then they actually published my rebuttal in the four of the largest newspapers in Norway. So it's been pretty, and they launched full-page ads about the new book in across Norway on Friday. I haven't talked to him, but he was like a Patrick Moore type guy, Schellenberger type guy. He was a raving environmentalist, and he left Greenpeace. He saw the light. Other people are doing that, and Morten Jodal was the same way. He was a leader of the big environmental movement in Norway, and he's absolutely opposed to most of the things they're proposing now.
And that's not to say
Can I brag a little bit,
well,
Joe?
Hold on one sec. That's not to say that we as human creatures aren't filthy people and can do better to clean up, the crap that we leave on the streets and this, that, or the other. But I think you and I, from a global standpoint, 4.5 billion years old, by the way, that the warming periods, when we look at the history of humankind, much better than the ice age periods as far as humans being able to thrive and survive, along with the fact that it is your belief that carbon isn't necessarily the evil that many make it out to be when we talk about some of these taxes and other policies that many of our lawmakers want to push forward.
Yeah, that's true. I promote in the CO2 Coalition. We march in lockstep on this. The many benefits of the combination of modestly warming temperatures and increasing CO2 are leading to an Earth that's thriving, prospering, and greening, and humanity is better for it. The human condition is improving. By almost every metric, we can recognize that. It should be, I call it the biggest untold story of the late 20th and early 21st century, is this prospering Earth and humanity benefiting from it. It's really a great story, and we should celebrate that. We shouldn't don't demonize CO2. Celebrate it. In fact, I should ship you. I just got some I Love CO2 face masks. I'll have to ship you a couple. They're great.
Greg, let me ask you, as it relates to, because this is tied all together, the evil fossil fuels and the ways in which we consume energy. How can we be better stewards, or how can we continue to improve the ways in which we consume on this planet?
Well, what we need for energy and electricity, we need three words describe it: reliable, abundant, and affordable. Those are the three descriptors. The only way we get that kind of electricity and energy are from fossil fuels, because they're dense. Nuclear is reliable and abundant, but it's certainly not affordable. And none of those three descriptors of reliable, abundant, or affordable can be used for wind or solar. The wind and solar are just they have horrifying, devastating consequences to the environment. The UN report recently on biodiversity and extinction said that the greatest threat to endangered species was loss of habitat. Well, what's their solution to climate change? Pave over tens of thousands of square miles for solar panel factories and wind turbine farms. So again, what do they want to do? Destroy the planet to save it? It's crazy. Hey, but can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I said,
Go ahead.
I want to brag a little bit. So my book was Inconvenient Facts was published a little over 3 years ago. I haven't looked this morning. It's been #1 bestseller in at least a couple of categories over the last several weeks, after 3.5 years. So I don't know what's driving it. I think I've just got new people finding it. But for Inconvenient Facts to still be a #1 bestsellers, books should not do this. So I want to thank you. I know I went down and we had a put on a presentation, and maybe we should do that again. My son is actually living down there now.
Well, I would definitely enjoy it. So let's keep in touch. And I know you're up in the Pittsburgh area. Quickly, before I let you go, we talk about the ways in which these renewable energy types of products are manufactured. As it relates to solar panels, we have to do a pretty good. We have to take a pretty good dent into the earth to find these minerals and. Who do we rely on for these types of things to manufacture these solar panels?
Well, right now, we had the week that Joe Biden was inaugurated. It was the first week since 1985 the United States did not import 1 barrel of oil from Saudi Arabia. We've finally become energy independent, and now Joe Biden wants to stop that and turn everything electric. Get away from oil. We need to move away to renewables, to electric. And that's wind and solar and batteries. Well, to do that, you need lithium, you need cobalt, and you need rare earth elements, all three of which are dominated by the Chinese. So what he's trying to do is push us into an energy dependence away from the Middle East and toward China. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. President Xi has to be rubbing his hands together in glee right now. He doesn't have to. He would like to bring our economy down, and he doesn't. And it's happening. And he doesn't have to do a darn thing. We're self-destructing. We're committing harakiri. It's economic suicide what's being proposed, and people are, and even the Republicans are. I get angry at them more than anybody because they're going right along with it. Oh well. Okay, well, let's not do 2.3 trillion, but yeah, maybe we could spend $1 trillion. No, we shouldn't spend 1 penny. They're calling it a solution to the climate crisis. I call it a solution in search of a problem. So no, not 1 penny, not 1 penny to solve a non-existent crisis.
Greg, thanks so much for the time, man. I appreciate the quick turnaround here. Inconvenient Facts, the science Al Gore doesn't want you to know. The title of Greg's book, as he said, still atop the list within his category and making its rounds across planet Earth as we celebrate planet Earth here this morning on this Earth Day 2021. When I hear some of these remarks made by our lawmakers, Republicans included, you know what comes to mind?
You can whiz on my leg, but don't tell me it's raining.
Here's 1 minute of tree knowledge in 30 seconds with K.O. Davis.
It's important that you have somebody, a trained professional, to trim your trees. There are these guys out there that just hack trees, and that's the worst thing in the world that you can do. Don't let somebody hat rack your trees. That's a tree term for hat rack. You know how they just cut a tree and it looks like it's just got like a hat rack? These guys just go up and just cut the trees off, and they don't cut it back to the proper spot. Call us, because we care about your trees.
Visit KO'sCoastToCoastTree.com.
Don't let some yahoo hat rack your trees.
As Wilmington's leader in restorative and regenerative medicine, the Frank Institute specializes in health optimization. Simply put, we use in-depth evaluations and lab testing to determine the best treatments for each patient. So whether you're suffering from an unseen hormonal imbalance or a simple vitamin deficiency, the Frank Institute is ready to get you back to better living. Call us at 910-679-8534 or fill out our symptom survey online at frankinstitute.com. Because at the Frank Institute, you live, we help.
Get a peek inside more than 40 of the area's finest homes for free during the 35th Annual Parade of Homes, April 24th and 25th, and May 1st and 2nd. Visit WilmingtonParadeOfHomes.com for details. Presented by the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association.
This is Radio Free Dixie. Diversity is a buzzword today, but little is known about the truly diverse nature of the Confederate States of America. The Sons of Confederate Veterans want you to know about the religious diversity in the Old South. Many people think of Dixie as a society based on the Protestant religion. Yet, during the War for Southern Independence, the South's first two heroes, General Beauregard and Admiral Sims, were Roman Catholics, and the Confederate Secretary of State was Jewish. Within the Confederate Army, chaplains of various faiths worked with soldiers of various faiths. The Sons of Confederate Veterans invite you to learn the truth about your Southern heritage and join with us to make Dixie great again. Please visit us at makedixie.greatagain.org. That's makedixie.greatagain.org.
Hey, this is Matt Ham, co-founder of Uprint and the co-host of Wake Up Our Faith, every Saturday and Sunday right here on Wilmington's Big Talker. We invite you to join with our nonprofit movement by participating in the Portable Faith Community. This is a $10 a month tax-deductible contribution, and you get access to daily encouragement, resources, as well as our prayer community. You can go to wakeupmyfaith.com to get subscribed and learn more. That's wakeupmyfaith.com.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
She grew up in an Indiana town, had a good-looking mama who never was around, but she grew up tall and she grew up right with them Indiana boys on an Indiana night.
Portions of our program each day brought to you by the science, the data, and the experts, along with our friends at Bugno Pest Control. Our buddy Dennis and his son DJ, family-owned and operated business for 20 years within the area. Bugno is rated the #1 pest control company by Home Advisor 3 years in a row here in the Port City. When you give Dennis a call over at Bugno Pest Control, make sure you ask about the mosquito control formula that they use on my yard. So with the warmer months upon us, grilling out that steak or the burgers, all leading to the destruction of planet Earth, of course, due to the cow farts and methane. How dare us, which is why I've got a good buddy named John Mullins with America's Choice Gourmet. He provides us the best USDA prime steaks around. All his meat, by the way, coming from local farmers. Mosquitoes can be a major concern during the warm summer months. I want to be comfortable in my backyard, which is why I've developed a great relationship with my buddy Dennis at Bugno Pest Control. Tell him Joe from the Big Talker sent you. Get you 20% off your initial contract. That's Bugno Pest Control, the #1 pest control company in Wilmington, according to Home Advisor, for 3 years in a row. Their number, 910-367-2501, 910-367-2501. Find them online, bugnopestcontrol.com. That's Bugno, B-U-G-N-O, pestcontrol.com. Call that you're with us before we hit the bottom of the hour news break. Good morning.
Hey, it's Joe. It's the Fish from
Hey,
Carolina
Fish.
Beach.
Hope you're not fishing out there and taking all the fish out of the sea, because that also destroys planet Earth as well.
Yeah, I hate to admit it, though, but I'm over here in this den of iniquity this morning at Riceville Beach meeting a high school friend for breakfast. But I wanted to chime in on your previous caller. I don't want to one-up him, but my friend Alex Epstein who you're familiar with, wrote the moral case for fossil fuels. His book is up as far as on the bestseller list in that category. So I'll recommend it to your listeners. The Moral Case for Fossil Fuel by Alex Epstein.
And I've reached out to him to try and get him on the show, but he had some health issues apparently with his voice, which is why he hasn't been able to join us just yet. But I have sought...
it was caused by global warming.
I'm sure, or the pollen out there when you walk out in the morning. And pollen is a good thing, right? They're pollinizing the plants, and that's a good thing for planet Earth, meaning it's going through its natural cycle in the spring. Fish, you enjoy the breakfast. Right. What's on the menu today? 2 eggs over easy with some bacon and hash browns, or maybe some grits? What's on the docket here for you?
Probably some grits and some country ham, my friend.
How long does it take for you to cook your grits? Do you cook your grits quicker? Are you saying on the planet Earth that you can cook a grit faster than I can cook a grit?
Of course. Of course.
All right, we're talking about 2 Utes out there this morning. If you didn't get my line there from my cousin Vinny, of course. We thank the Fish for his contributions to our program as he pays $5 an hour for parking over there on the beach. I mean, you're not local if you can't finagle a way around the parking situation in our beach towns. I mean, let's be real here. Got to know a guy or two. I know a couple guys as we hit the bottom of the hour. Our friend Harry Knight from the Southeast Republican Men's Association is going to join us after the break. They had their monthly meeting earlier this week. They were joined by former Congressman Mark Walker, who has tossed his name in the hat for the Republican nomination in the U.S. Senate race coming in 2022 as we look to replace Richard Burr with, could be a Looney Tune or could be somebody that has their ducks in a row as far as policies that we support going to Washington, D.C. for a 6-year term. Though, still awaiting, of course, Senator Tillis. It's been now 4 months in counting since he was reelected. We gave him a little time dealing with the cancer, had a foot situation where he had to get surgery. He's been through the ringer nonetheless. He's got to pick up the phone and give us a call. I'm pretty sure that here in this 21st century that we're able to pick up a phone, dial a number that you're familiar with at 910-299-7535, and I'm pretty sure they can patch us through from Washington, D.C. here to Wilmington, North Carolina. So far, Senator Tillis hasn't gotten to that stage in his newly elected position after serving a 6-year term, being granted another by the people of North Carolina. We hope to get him on the program soon. Richard Burr, good luck. And we haven't even sniffed a staffer. Ooh, that sounded weird. But, we haven't even sniffed an email response from Senator Burr over the years. Making too much money, selling off all of his stock as the global pandemic came raining down with a little insider knowledge that we were going to shut the country down weeks before we shut the country down as he pulled $1 million worth of stock out of the hospitality industry. Amazing how that works when you're privy to all the information as a D.C. insider.
You keep saying you got something for me, something you call love, but confess you've been a messin' where you shouldn't have been a messin', and now someone else is getting all your best. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. The family of Dante Wright is preparing for his funeral today. It comes just days after guilty verdicts were handed down for the former Minneapolis police officer whose killing of George Floyd set off nationwide protest and a reckoning over racism. Wright died April 11th after a white Brooklyn Center police officer shot the 20-year-old black man during a traffic stop. Her chief said it appeared the officer mistakenly used her gun instead of her taser. The officer resigned soon after and is charged with second-degree manslaughter. Governor Roy Cooper plans to lift all mandates on social distancing and gathering limits by June 1st if coronavirus metrics remain stable and residents continue to get vaccinated. The statewide mask mandate could be ended once 2/3 of North Carolinians have gotten at least one vaccine. Cooper thinks it will be hard to reach the 2/3 threshold by the end of May, but could be reached shortly thereafter. More than 47% of adults have gotten at least one shot. Nearly 36% are fully vaccinated. UNCW announcing it will offer both virtual and in-person graduation ceremonies next month. The university will hold multiple in-person events on May 7th and 8th in Trask Coliseum, as well as a virtual ceremony for students who prefer that option. All graduates will be recognized individually. All ceremonies will be live-streamed with captions for remote viewing, and all departmental celebrations will be virtual. Some good news for New Hanover County school students. The county will hold traditional graduation ceremonies this year. COVID precautions will be in place, including a ticket requirement for entry. Each high school has a limited number of tickets and will distribute them to students and families. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Well, big time changes in store for us today. We are much cooler than our Wednesday. Today's highs are going to be about 15 degrees cooler. We'll only top off in the low to middle 60s, but we'll still see plenty of sunshine throughout the day today with a light wind out of the north. And we can see gusts as high as 15, perhaps 20 miles per hour. But overall, though, we're turning quite cool late tonight with clear skies dropping down to the upper 30s and the low 40s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey, I'm Yael Osowski.
And I'm David Clement.
We're the host of Consumer Choice Radio, broadcasting every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
Consumer Choice Radio is a weekly conversation featuring the latest news, interviews, and expert analysis that covers consumer topics from around the world.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
As we move into the second half of our program here today until 10 o'clock, of course, you can find us through our YouTube channel, digital platforms now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Our mobile app is there for you on your handheld device. WFBT, Big Talker 106.7 FM. You download our app and you take us wherever you may be on planet Earth. Portions of our program always brought to you in part by Science, Data, and the Experts. As we welcome in Harry Knight with the Southeast Republican Men's Association. They join us twice a week on Thursdays. Harry, your organization met earlier this week, and you had a chance to speak and hear from one of the Republican candidates seeking the nomination to replace Senator Burr. His name is Mark Walker. He's a former congressman from up in the Greensboro area. Would likely still be representing that area in Washington if he wasn't districted out. When they redrew the districts, they combined his district with Ted Budd, I believe, who also is considered to be a candidate that may get into the Senate race, or else he'd still probably be representing portions of our state in Congress. Nonetheless, you heard from Mark, along with a Supreme Court justice candidate here at the state level. Just give us some details from that and how the meeting was back on Tuesday.
Yeah, so good morning, Joe. Good morning in our local area. This Tuesday, Southeast Republican Men's Association held a meet and greet for Mark Walker. As Joe talked about him, very solid conservative Republican, ended up getting districted out basically in the last round of elections, so he didn't run. Ted Budd replaced him, and Mark's running for U.S. Senate to replace Richard Burr. Mark, and the only other real candidate that's currently declared is our former governor, McCrory. Mark, in our opinion, is the much more solid conservative associated with that. And you've also got to remember that you can win primaries all you want, but you got to win the general election. If you don't win the general election, you've lost. And from all signs, it looks like Sherry Beasley, former Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, will probably be the Democratic candidate. So we need a candidate with very solid credentials that's going to take her on so that we can continue to not only just hold at least a 50-50 in the North Carolina Senate, but retake the Senate. And then we are also honored to have Trey Allen, which currently works for our North Carolina Supreme Court Justice Paul Newby. He'll be running as one of two open seats, both Democrats, for the North Carolina Supreme Court. And it's important that we continue to elect, judges that believe that you enforce the laws as they're written with the meaning at the time that they were written. And Trey absolutely meets those kinds of conditions. This would actually give us, if we could take at least one of those two positions back, it would swing that court from being extremely liberal to being conservative, and do that in a period of under 4 years, which would be an outstanding accomplishment.
With that said, of course, rehashing what occurred in 2020 in November, Republicans did make a little bit of a dent, or at least, right-leaning conservative justices on the Supreme Court cracked what was a leftist-dominated court. Has kind of evened the scales, though. Democrats still have a 4-3 majority. The justice of the lead justice of the Supreme Court now, Paul Newby, in a race that came down to the wire. I think the closest race in all of North Carolina.
Yeah, 401 votes. So if you don't think your vote counts, that race right there proves that your vote counts.
Sherry Beasley, the former Supreme Court justice, leading state's highest court, now again looking to seek the Democratic nomination for the seat held now by Richard Burr in 2022. That's the midterms that people will start really paying attention to as we move through the latter part of the year and into early next year. When we talk about the Southeast Republican Men's Association, you guys get together a couple of Tuesdays each month over at Olympia Restaurant. Nice Greek restaurant over there. It's amazing. The Greeks around here, they do it pretty good. Olympia is for sure on Oleander. We'll have to get in there sooner than later to speak with them about maybe providing some baklava for the show at one point or another. We give them a little shout out for hosting the Southeast Republican Men's Association, their monthly meeting. You've got a fundraiser coming up this Friday as well.
That's right. At Chris's restaurant over next to Market Street.
Oh,
we'll be
another. Is that another Greek restaurant?
I don't know if that one's Greek or not.
Oh, all right, go ahead.
But we'll be holding a fundraiser for victims of child abuse. You can go to surma.gop and get your tickets online. You can actually show up at the door and bring a check. For this particular event, the donation level is low enough, it's $30, that we won't run afoul of the $50 no cash limit. So you actually could bring cash, but we prefer that you bring a check or just order it up online. That way we know how many people's there, because we'll have drinks and finger foods and stuff. The actual money for this will go to an organization called Bikers Against Child Abuse, BACA, and this is a all-volunteer group across the nation that is basically on call with the various sheriff's office and agencies around, that when a child is in trouble, they will go to help and provide protection for them. So it'll be a great opportunity to visit with some very interesting folks. And we'll have a couple of the local chapters leaders here, and I'm sure they'll show up with their bikes and full motorcycle gear. So it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's in fact, it is, I believe, a Greek restaurant, or at least ran by Greeks. Chris's Restaurant at 853 South 17th Street. That's from 5 until 7:30 p.m. this upcoming Friday. Again, raising money for the organization known as Bikers Against Child Abuse. Their website to find out more information is SERMA, SERMA.GOP, Southeast Republican Men's Association. Cost is $30. Again, Friday from 5 until 7:30. You can find out more information. Go to SERMA, SERMA.GOP. Top right-hand corner of their homepage, they have a tab that says BACA Fundraiser if you want to find out more, or you can donate right there without having to attend later on this week. That's just one, and you'll also hear from State Representative Charlie Miller, who represents parts of coastal Brunswick and New Hanover counties up at the State General Assembly in Raleigh. Harry, in addition to the monthly meetings you hold, the monies you're trying to raise this year, of course, organizing and trying to build support for candidates with conservative-minded values. You're keeping an eye, of course, on issues going on here locally, statewide in particular. Anything that has popped out to you as of late since we've last caught up?
Well, that's kind of quite the setup after our little conversation. Yeah, one of the things, and I keep track of local issues only, and I'll put a little plug in here for this. I'm the only, as far as I know, declared New Hanover County Commissioner candidate for 2022. And for those that have followed me around in various things that I've done, know that I'm an energy industry early retiree, specifically the nuclear industry. And one of the things that Joe's alluding to here is one of our local representatives, Deb Butler, just introduced a resolution in our Congress here in North Carolina to require, as part of the new building code, to install charging stations in all new construction. Now, this is all under the Green New Deal business.
That's residential and commercial?
The article I read wasn't that specific, but I think
of course not.
I think it's pertaining specifically to residential property.
Yeah, a bill that I see it right here from the Sierra Club, of course, environmental group. They've got the monopoly on the environment. We're not allowed to, work towards being better stewards for, good drinking water, clean air. We're not allowed to do that because, we have, a center-right mindset. Only Democratic-minded folks are able to push for planet Earth with a little bit more of your money and a little less of your freedom. They will, of course, save planet Earth. That's
Right.
4.8 billion years old. Sorry.
Yeah, but here's the bigger picture associated with this. This piece of legislation, in all reality, what that really means is they're going to install a 240-volt plug in your garage. That's it. That's all that it means. It's like putting a dryer outlet into your garage. But the bigger thing here is they continue to push electric vehicles. So if you think about that, for green energy perspective, where is that electricity coming from? It's coming from your power grid, which is currently powered mostly by fossil fuels, and you're continuing to do this push for solar, wind, and other things. Quite frankly, if you're going to go do this, this would be fine. We need a major leap in battery technology to make it work better. But if you're going to do something like that, all this stuff's going to be charging at night, not during the day, because that's when you're going to be driving those cars. So you need base load power to power this stuff up.
And then when we see some type of weather event or there's a surge in electricity in one area of your region as compared to another, what ends up happening? Oh, the power company says we're going to turn off their lights, even though you pay. You pay your monthly bill on time, maybe ahead of time, maybe a couple of days late. Even though you pay, we're going to have some rolling blackouts because we need to put the energy over here rather than over there.
That's right. But the answer, you can actually do a lot of this stuff if you would just do it correctly. So if you actually believe that man-made carbon emissions is causing global warming or climate change or whatever title that you want to put on it, you'd basically do three things. You'd bring nuclear power to something greater than 50% of the grid. That's base load, it's non-carbon emitting, and it runs 24/7. It doesn't care. It's extremely reliable with today's new technology. Until you can get nuclear to 50% or above on the power grid, you'd use the cleanest burning carbon-based fuel that you have today, and that's natural gas. And natural gas means fracking.
And natural gas, by the way, has been the biggest contributor to our reduction in carbon emissions over the past 15, 20 years.
That's exactly right. The United States is one of the cleanest carbon-emitting developed countries in the world, and we continue to pick on the United States like we're some kind of polluter. We're absolutely not. With that said, if you were really serious about this, the next thing that you would do is you would put crippling sanctions and tariffs on your world's actual polluters, which means Russia, India, and China. You know what most of all these green energy advocates are for? None of the above. Absolutely none. These people have no idea what they're talking about.
Well, they sure make it sound pretty good. If we only go down this pathway, we'll all live in affordable homes, be able to eat, drink, and live the way we please without any sort of issues. It'll be actual utopia, is what they're telling us. Just again, so long as they can increase your taxes further, take a little bit more of your money, wash it through Washington, D.C. about 6 times, and then eventually it'll find its way to maybe the lead pipes that we're all going to try and get rid of. The big idea by Joe Biden as part of his American Jobs Plan.
Yeah. Now, getting rid of lead pipes is actually a good idea, but I don't actually have any idea how much that exists still in, the United States today. So it's a nice catchphrase, but I'm not really sure just how much of that is actual reality.
Correct.
Now, there are some places that really do have a problem and really do need to get corrected, and I'm all for that, obviously. But touting that as some major thing in the United States, I don't have any idea how big that problem really is, and I don't think anybody else does either.
Put a lot of miles on the Hyundai Sonata these days because of various gigs that I've got going on around the country. And in fact, I'll be up the road 4.5 hours to Lynchburg this weekend. And one of the things that I get a chuckle out of when I pass the rest areas, breezing by, are the electric cars charging. Which of course increases the travel time. Forces you to pull off the side of the road when you're trying to get somewhere. So you got to pad in an extra 2-3 hours on your ride just to sit on the side of the road I guess you can get some emails done, work remotely, and do everything you want to do, while you're sitting in your car watching the battery get charged up. But who knows, how inconvenient that will make, our life if in fact, we see this implemented. I may be laughing at them now. They may get the last laugh if we continue to hire politicians that come from this cut of cloth.
Yeah, and that also brings up another point. I don't know that citizens realize it, but at least locally here in New Hanover County, we have several charging stations in public buildings around here so that when people park, they can go and charge their electric vehicles. You know who's paying to fill up essentially the gas tank of that electric car? You, the taxpayer. That's who's paying for that. The people that are actually driving those cars are getting a free tank of gas every time they do that because currently the county's picking up that tax bill.
Well, we're such a green and clean county. It's amazing that the polluters of Brunswick and Pender counties don't have to get their safety emissions test on the inspection that they get to re-register their car each year. But here in New Hanover County, we need an emissions test. They only need safety inspections from an ASE certified technician, as I found out at the mechanic the other day, because man comes in with the need to get his car re-registered and goes to the inspection, and the woman at the counter is like, yeah, $10. All you need is the safety inspection because your car is registered in Pender County. I said, do what? A Yankee saying, do what? And they're like, yeah, here in New Hanover County, you have to pay a couple extra bucks to get an emissions test. I'm driving a car from 2007, still, kind of older, but it's not an antique, almost an antique, but it's not a 57 Chevy, putting out massive exhaust from the muffler. I think it's, pretty well built so it's not, destroying planet Earth. But all you polluters in Brunswick and Pender counties getting away with it now these days because we're so green and smart here in New Hanover County.
I didn't even actually realize that was a difference between them. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a state requirement. So that's an interesting concept that different counties do vehicle inspections in a different way.
And you go to South Carolina, you don't have to get your vehicle inspected. How about that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's amazing how this world works, huh? Or does it?
Well, but
Depends how
that
you
comes
look
back
at
to that just comes back to an even larger point that we kind of tend to lose focus with all the social media, news coverage, and everything on national elections. Let me tell you, folks, what controls your life is local politics. Politics has always been local. Pay attention to what your local people are doing because they're the people that's going to impact you the most, the quickest.
Harry Knight with us with the Southeast Republican Men's Association, SERMA. That's SERMA.GOP. They meet monthly on Tuesdays. What is it, second Tuesday of every month?
Second Tuesday of every month.
At Olympia Restaurant on Oleander Drive. They heard from former Congressman and U.S. Senate candidate Mark Walker earlier this week. This upcoming Friday, I want to point your attention to a fundraiser, Bikers Against Child Abuse, BACA, raising money for this group. Of course, this past year with many lockdowns, a lot of folks out there not really sure what the conditions at home have been like for millions of kids. Donate to a great cause this upcoming Friday from 5 until 7:30 at Chris's Restaurant, 853 South 17th Street here in Wilmington. You'll hear from State Representative Charlie Miller from the area. Serma, SERMA.GOP. Their website, you can donate directly through their website, or you can go on their homepage, top right-hand corner. It says Baca Fundraiser, and you can get all the details and a few further than what we delivered to you here this morning. Harry, it's always a pleasure. You got your Campbell Camel mask on. Did you wear it, outside in the street here this morning, walking by yourself? I just want to see where you're at. I don't want to put hold your feet to the fire on this one.
Well, fortunately, I wasn't close to anybody, so no, I don't feel the need to wear a mask outside when I'm not in a crowd or some other reason to believe something might spread.
That's a bold statement for somebody seeking public office. Harry Knight here this morning with us. Thank you, sir. As we move up into the top of the hour here on the Big Talker FM, give us a call at 910-299-7535.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do. How can I ever change things that I feel? If I could, maybe hide.
My name's John Hennett. I'm a commercial real estate broker with Eastern Carolinas Commercial Real Estate here in Wilmington, and I also have a side hustle as a residential real estate appraiser. If you have any interest in listing, selling, buying, or investing in real estate, or if you're just curious about real estate, give me a call at 910-619-3430. Be happy to talk to you. But the reason I'm here today is to talk to you about the small businesses in our community. I think it's important that we all share our community pride for our hometown here in Wilmington. They are the lifeblood, and collectively, they are the largest employer in our community, and we need to take care of them. Like Caprice Bistro at 10 Market Street, my favorite restaurant for me and my wife. Patricia and Terry Morty have been in business over 20 years, and they make food with love. So I'd encourage you to visit the Caprice Bistro at 10 Market Street next time you have a special occasion. Remember, if you have any real estate questions, feel free to give me a call at 910-619-3430. Thank you.
Constructive Solutions is the name of my construction company. It's called Constructive Solutions because I focus on solving what it is my customers need and want, and there's always a way to get the job done. We're in our 25th year serving our community. We handle all types of home improvements and repairs, literally from your crawl space to your roof, as well as commercial alterations. We're a small, family-owned and operated business. My wife works in the office, and my son Dylan is my right and left-hand man. Combined, we have over 70 years of experience. Dylan and I face every project or challenge that comes our way. I learned my trade from my father, who was a builder until his eyesight failed him. I was showing some employees a picture of my father working on the second-story eaves of his home, and I said, "Can you believe he's 82 and up on a homemade scaffold?" They said, "He's 82? I replied, "Yes, and he's blind. Don't ever tell me it can't be done." So if you want quality professional service for your home or business, give us a call at 910-231-6020 or go to markmarkley.com.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
All right, as we head in the top of the hour quickly, as we just heard from our good friend Lenny Simpson promoting the One Love Tennis program, they're holding another monthly food drive over at 1406 Orange Street this upcoming weekend, April 24th, from 10 a.m. until noon. They're looking for volunteers and, of course, donations. So check your pantry for non-perishable food items. Tomorrow, they'll be accepting fresh vegetables. You can drop off items from 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. That's 11 a.m. until 4 p.m. tomorrow for non-perishable food items. Non-perishable items and fresh vegetables will be accepted Friday from 11 a.m. until 4. And they're looking for some volunteers on Saturday, the day of the event, for their drive-through food drive event over at 1406 Orange Street through the One Love Tennis program. Find out more info at one-love-tennis.org.
If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? If I'm alive, and well, will you be there?
keeping Leland informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
Crimea, involving dozens of Navy ships, hundreds of warplanes, thousands of troops in a show of force amid tension with Ukraine. Comes at a time when Wisconsin Republican Congressman Mike Gallagher says the U.S. is projecting an image of weakness abroad.
Congressman Gallagher tells the Salem Radio Network he sees a pattern.
Whether it's the way the CCP lectured us in Alaska about racial politics in America,
or what he calls the unconditional surrender by the U.S. in Afghanistan.
Added to the continued Chinese buildup and harassment of Taiwan.
Taken together, Gallagher says it amounts to a climate of weakness,
which our adversaries interpret as a climate of opportunity.
And Gallagher says Russia's been greeted by a weak U.S. response to its troop buildup on the border with Ukraine. Bob Agnew reporting.
The number of Americans applying for unemployment fell last week to 547,000. A new post-pandemic low. Wall Street, Dow futures down 5 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
Ah, tax season. Opening that confirmation email and... What? Someone already filed my return? During tax season, all the info identity thieves need is on your tax forms. That's why LifeLock monitors your personal information, alerts you to possible suspicious activity, and works to fix it if you become a victim. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but you can save up to 25% off your first year at LifeLock.com with promo code SMART.
Gunmen who swept in on motorbikes have killed at least 50 people and burning down a number of homes in a series of raids targeting remote villages in Nigeria.
Residents of Magami area of Nigeria's Zamfara state told the BBC that the gunmen first attacked the village of Erdoka on Wednesday. And when local vigilantes from neighboring villages moved in to help, the attackers intensified their violence, spreading to several other communities. Some residents say they counted dozens of bodies and more people were missing. Some of the victims are said to be people displaced by previous attacks, now returning home to prepare their farmlands as this year's rainy season begins.
That's the BBC's Ishaq Khalid. The European Central Bank leaving its key stimulus programs unchanged, with almost 900 billion euros of support still in the pipeline as the economy lags the U.S. and China in a prolonged battle with the COVID-19 pandemic. News and analysis at townhall.com. India remains in the grip of a severe coronavirus surge.
India has reported a global record of more than 314,000 new infections as a grim coronavirus surge in the world's second most populous country sends more and more sick people into a fragile healthcare system, critically short of hospital beds and oxygen. The vast majority of infections added in the past 24-hour period raises India's total past 15.9 million cases since the pandemic began, second to the US. The nation's health ministry says fatalities have risen by over 2,000 in the past 24 hours, raising India's overall death toll to well over 180,000. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
And ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street, stock futures are lower, Dow futures are down 18 points, so the NASDAQ futures are off 21 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore.
7 minutes past the top of the hour. You're tuned in to the Big Talker, 106.7 FM here across the Cape Fear region. You can find us through the terrestrial radio signal at 106.7 FM. Of course, you can take us wherever you may be through our mobile app at WFBT, the Big Talker, 106.7 FM. You can find us, of course, through the Apple iStore in your iPhone, the Google Play Store in your Android. Subscribe to our new YouTube channel. You can also find us through the digital platforms on Facebook and Twitter at Big Talker 106.7 FM. So over the past several weeks, you may have noticed smoke billowing into the air from parts of Brunswick County as controlled burns across more than 6,000 acres have been ongoing to, yes, improve forest health and restore the longleaf pine habitat. And it just so happened that when I scheduled this conversation with Dylan Epp, who is the property manager at Orden Plantation, that it coincided now with Earth Day. We set this up last week, and it just so happened that today is Earth Day. So I'm trying to make some sense out of all of this. Burning forests to help the environment. Maybe Dylan can provide a little insight as to why, in fact, these prescribed and controlled burns actually help conserve, preserve, and sustain our woodlands and the environment. Dylan, it's a pleasure. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here this morning.
Hey, Joe. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you. I'm doing all right. You are a state-certified controlled burner. Give us the details, the roles, the responsibilities of that title.
Well, that is a title given to someone who has undergone training to be able to use prescribed fire as a tool in our forest here in North Carolina. Every state has its own certification, and some are different. But what it does is it layers a layer of professionalism with the ignition of fire in our ecosystems, and also gives a layer of protection to the person that's using natural fire ecology in the ecosystems of the forest here in North Carolina.
When we talk about Orden Plantation, can you just give the listeners out there, I'm familiar with the area, our radio tower used to be out there, have made many long journeys with the engineer in the middle of the night to help make sure that he could climb up the tower to get everything sorted out from a technology standpoint. Just give us the geographic location of Orden Plantation. This is, of course, the property that you manage and have been conducting these burns for the last several weeks.
Sure. Orden Plantation is very familiar to the area. It's a historical property that is in Brunswick County, and it's right in between Leland and Southport, right off of Highway 133.
And from that, again, you, of course, all across the area, you'll get phone calls. The news media will, all of a sudden be running stories. Don't worry about the smoke billowing into the air. It's not a threat or a danger, and that's this time of year, as we typically see happen. And we've been blessed with some great weather the last couple of weeks. Talk about the idea behind these prescribed burns and the purpose of them.
Sure, and first of all, I appreciate the public's patience, with these burns, and I assure you that prescribed fire is an actual natural component of the longleaf pine ecosystem in this area. It's really interesting when you start looking at the fire ecology, the different plants and animals, and that's exactly what we are working with. Historically, fire was a integral component in the function and biodiversity of the longleaf pine ecosystem. And there's many organisms that have learned how to adapt to it not only from being able to withstand it, but also exploiting it. And, so when you see smoke and you see a fire, actually what's happening on the ground with this prescribed fire is that you are working with the ecosystem to improve it. And so just some examples of that. I mean, fire actually releases things like phosphorus in the ground from leaf and tree litter that is sitting on top of the ground. It lays bare mineral soil for plants. Everyone's familiar with the Venus flytrap and pitcher plants, but it goes way beyond that to bunch grasses such as little blue stem, big blue stem, and their seeds to pine trees and pine cones. All of those seeds need bare mineral soil to be able to basically regenerate. It also works with a lot of our plants that we have. Historically, fires were centered around lightning. And if you think about when you get most of your lightning, it was in your warmer months of the year. And so that soil temperature is the indicator to a lot of plants. And so if you notice that our fires that we are using as prescribed burns are usually set from March to about May 1st. And that's the time of the year when the temperature is starting to rise, and plants actually know it. So when you burn at that type of year, it actually increases the percentage of viable seeds on plants. The plant's health gets bigger, they grow in diameter, they stand up, they flower better. It's a much different burn than what it would have been in the wintertime when they're dormant. There's also a lot of plants and animals that really benefit from fire at different times of the year. For example, everyone's aware of a red-cockaded woodpecker. We have a lot of them in this area. They are an endangered species. One interesting fact about the red-cockaded woodpecker is that they eat everything off of the bole or the trunk of a tree. So if you have a forest that underneath it is nothing but mowed sod, then that grass doesn't have the diversity in it that attracts the different insects that these birds eat. But if you replace that with a natural flora fauna that is heavy in diversity and that is dominated by fire, so that means it's full of flowering plants, then you are attracting the maximum amount of insects, which in turn helps that species, that red-cockaded woodpecker, to not only grow more cavity trees, to have more young, but also to grow their colony. There's another interesting animal that is in this area it's a threatened animal, and this is a little frog called a gopher frog. And one thing that's interesting about this frog is that most people, when they think frogs, they think that this frog lives in water. Well, he doesn't. He lives around water, and specifically around ephemeral ponds. And what I mean by that is this is like a grassy pond that will go dry from time to time. And he eats insects off of the grass, but where he lives is interesting. He lives in a burned out stump hole. So if you don't have a natural fire regiment there, then he loses a home. And there's no way that they can continue to proliferate, in the area. And so it's a symbiotic relationship there between, fire and these plants and animals. And it's quite interesting. But working with those natural processes is our whole goal when we go to burn.
That's a very thorough explanation, one that I've never heard of when we have discussed and talked with other officials surrounding the purpose of these prescribed burns. Typically, the news outlets get a press release, they run the release, they make the public aware of it, and that's about it. This is why we have such a great platform here. Dylan able to explain to us the exact processes and the benefits of why we hold these types of burns throughout the springtime. Again, not only to benefit the ecosystem within the longleaf pine, by also, again, helping with the different plants and animals and insects that live, work, and play in these areas, encouraging new plant growth, as you just heard Dylan make mention of. Also mitigates the possibility of wildfire. It reduces that dangerous fuel, the underbrush. Dylan, how do you go about burning, the woods without burning all the trees down?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So first of all, when it comes to prescribed fire, you've probably heard it called a controlled burn. Well, there is really no control in a burn. You have to use the parameters of your land, the natural landscape, and most importantly, the weather. And so it's through the weather really that you're able to not only prevent total forest devastation, but also it's how you manage the smoke and where your fire goes. So, everyone sees the smoke, but we actually plan around the weather parameters that to be able to manage that, and also how hot the fire gets in the forest. That's the most important thing. But talking a little bit about, the planning of these burns and then how they are actually put in on the ground. I mean, this is definitely a very calculated tactical movement. It's not something that you just decide to light a match in the morning. You build these plans weeks in advance, and you lay them out, and then you're actually looking for the right day. And on that day, you take in the weather parameters, you determine, your tonnage of smoke based on available tonnage of fuel on the ground, and you map that smoke out and where it's going to go, and you're actually looking for how it's going to disperse into the atmosphere. And there's a lot of things that control that, from mixing height to atmospheric dispersion index to the Lavori index, which talks about it, later at night, how the atmosphere becomes more stable. To the wind direction, how fast the wind is, the surface wind versus the transport wind. All of these things determine where the smoke goes. They also determine how hot the fire be. And so, you rate how big of an area that you're going to burn based off of those parameters. And that goes into what we call a burn prescription. And it's a very elaborate document. Ours is about 11 pages long. And that involves, basically the weather and the location of the burn and the maps and the logistical navigation of that to who we actually notify on the day of the burn. So, we notify all of the authorities. So, for example, if I'm sending smoke to the east, New Hanover County, all of the EMS and fire department chiefs there, we're notifying them. Department of Air Quality, Ashby Armstead, there, we notify him, and we work together with them if there comes complaints. To the local neighbors here, we have about 15 people every day that we burn that we notify, and then it comes down. Once you do that, you have to send it into the Forest Service, who they review it, and then they approve of the burn, and they log it into their grid for smoke management. And then once you do that, then you have to actually execute the burn. And when you go in to light a fire in a forest, depending on basically your spot forecast in that area, you use a variety of tactics that basically help you help you figure out how to burn it at that exact moment. And it changes during the diurnal cycle of the day, because the humidity will rise and fall as the day progresses. And so as things become more volatile, you have to slow down. But when everything's a little bit more stable, you can speed up, and you have to read that. And so, we have highly trained crews that are divided into basically 3 categories. So you have ignition, suppression, and surveillance. And each of our crews have those exact things. And as they light the fire, they use a variety of tactics, from backing fires to spot fires to flank fires to head fires, and each of those has a different they have a different purpose. So you may back it off of a line to be able to safely contain your burn and not let it get out. And then depending on the weather parameters there at that point in time, you might drop some spots of fire into the block to see how high the head fire would be if you did. And depending at that point, you may advance it with strips of head fires or flanking fires, or you might light the head fire depending on, how settled the humidity is at that point in time. So there's a lot of parameters that go into it, and it takes a trained crew working with it to be able to control it. And that's what we strive to do.
Dylan, as I let you go, again, this is some great information. This area has been known over years to have to deal with, of course, wildfires, which is one of the reasons why we conduct these prescribed burns, as you've just heard this morning. I remember years ago, the Holly Shelter game land was burning for months or weeks at least, and it really put a dent into the air quality and caused some massive issues. So we are prone to wildfires throughout the course of a year. This is part of the process to help mitigate the possibility of those dangerous conditions, all in the while providing great benefits to the ecosystem, as you heard as well from Dylan Epp, a state-certified controlled burner. He's the property manager over at Orton Plantation, which is, again, between Leland and Southport off of Highway 133. Dylan, let me ask you just real quick, given the thorough explanation that you've given us, you told us at the very beginning that, you're well-trained and certified in conducting this type of business. What kind of got you interested in learning about the ecosystem, and how long did it take you to learn about all of the different, plant life, the different types of trees and animals and insects that benefit and thrive through these processes?
Sure. I've been working professionally with it for about 20 years now, and I was trained as a forester in forest management at Auburn University. I've always been interested in the environment and worked closely, even through high school with things like fire ecology and land management. My training there at Auburn really helped me understand the ecology that happens underneath the crowns of our trees in the southeast. And the truth is that when you control the trees, you control everything underneath it, and that's great responsibility when it comes to a property like Orton Plantation, because we're 14,600 acres here in total, and we have one of the most diverse and fragile landscapes that I've ever worked with. And so the due diligence that we have to this ecosystem is great. And, I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Dylan Epp, the War Eagle himself, a state-certified controlled burner and the Orton Plantation property manager. They're in the midst of prescribed burning season. Controlled burns across more than 6,000 acres of Orton Plantation have been going on over the past couple of weeks. It'll continue through the early portion of May. Again, annual burning, as you heard, helps conserve, preserve, and sustain our woodlands and the environment. And now you know why. Dylan, thanks so much for the informative conversation this morning.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
We're 24 minutes past the hour. Wow. We talk about, natural science all wrapped into a 20-minute conversation. What's the purpose of going to public school these days? When you got a guy like Dylan to provide you the information you need to know. Heck of a conversation this morning. On this Earth Day, we're celebrating planet Earth, 4.5 billion years old. And look at that. Now you know more about how we as humans are working to conserve, preserve, and sustain our environment.
My name's John Hennett. I'm a commercial real estate broker with Eastern Carolinas Commercial Real Estate here in Wilmington, and I also have a side hustle as a residential real estate appraiser. If you have any interest in listing, selling, buying, or investing in real estate, or if you're just curious about real estate, give me a call at 910-619-3430. Be happy to talk to you. But the reason I'm here today is to talk to you about the small businesses in our community. I think it's important that we all share our community pride for our hometown here, Wilmington. They are the lifeblood, and collectively, they are the largest employer in our community, and we need to take care of them. Like Caprice Bistro at 10 Market Street, my favorite restaurant for me and my wife. Patricia and Terry Morty have been in business over 20 years, and they make food with love. So I'd encourage you to visit the Caprice Bistro at 10 Market Street next time you have a special occasion. Remember, if you have any real estate questions, feel free to give me a call at 910-619-3430. Thank you.
We wouldn't sell you a dining room table, so don't buy a medical device from a furniture store. US Med Express is Wilmington's leading supplier of golden technology lift and sleep chairs, carrying a variety of models in our showroom at 1733 Dawson Street. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Government has become too big, too overtaxing, and is constantly overregulating every aspect of your life.
If you agree with that, tune into Consumer Choice Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on the Big Talker 106.7 FM with me, Yael Osowski.
And me, David Clement. For an hour, you'll get expert analysis on what the government is sinking its teeth into next and how you, as a consumer, can push back.
ConsumerChoiceRadio.com.
As we hit the bottom of the hour news break, trying to figure out on this Earth Day how a teenager like Greta Thunberg is, the beacon of climate change rhetoric. How is that young woman famous? Clown show, that's why. Happy Earth Day, kids. You want to talk about ways in which folks are working to preserve, conserve, and sustain this 4.5 billion-year-old planet? Well, I want to point your direction to the American Conservation Coalition. In 2017, a group of right-of-center college activists started an environmental movement focused on collaboration and hope, tying together the private sector into this discussion rather than using division and fear to project policies on the American people. That's the American Conservation Coalition. A group of, right-of-center college activists conserving our environment, conservationists. I mean, what a great informative conversation with Dylan Epp here this morning. Are you aware that when Earth Day was founded, they were concerned about global cooling? All of us humans, of course, doing that stupid thing we call breathing. Big issue here on planet Earth. mix in the methane from the cow farts, and we've ruined the planet. Honestly, this is what we're hearing from folks like, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. That would be, in fact, our friend, your friend, my friend, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
The climate crisis is a crisis born of injustice, and it is a crisis born of the pursuit of profit at any and all human and ecological cost. Which means that we must recognize in legislation that the trampling of indigenous rights is a cause of climate change. The trampling of racial justice is a cause of climate change, because we are allowing people and we are allowing ourselves to make sure, we are allowing folks to deny ourselves human rights and deny people the right to health care, the right to housing and education.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. The family of Dante Wright is preparing for his funeral today. It comes just days after guilty verdicts were handed down for the former Minneapolis police officer whose killing of George Floyd set off nationwide protest and a reckoning over racism. Wright died April 11th after a white Brooklyn Center police officer shot the 20-year-old black man during a traffic stop. Her chief said it appeared the officer mistakenly used her gun instead of her taser. The officer resigned soon after and is charged with second-degree manslaughter. Governor Roy Cooper plans to lift all mandates on social distancing and gathering limits by June 1st if coronavirus metrics remain stable and residents continue to get vaccinated. The statewide mask mandate could be ended once two-thirds of North Carolinians have gotten at least one vaccine. Cooper thinks it will be hard to reach the two-thirds threshold by the end of May, but could be reached shortly thereafter. More than 47% of adults have gotten at least one shot. Nearly 36% are fully vaccinated. UNCW announcing it will offer both virtual and in-person graduation ceremonies next month. The university will hold multiple in-person events on May 7th and 8th in Trask Coliseum, as well as a virtual ceremony for students who prefer that option. All graduates will be recognized individually. All ceremonies will be live streamed with captions for remote viewing, and all departmental celebrations will be virtual. Some good news for New Hanover County school students. The county will hold traditional graduation ceremonies this year. COVID precautions will be in place, including a ticket requirement for entry. Each high school has a limited number of tickets and will distribute them to students and families. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Well, big time changes in store for us today. We are much cooler than our Wednesday. Today's highs are going to be about 15 degrees cooler. We'll only top off in the low to middle 60s, but we'll still see plenty of sunshine throughout the day today with a light wind out of the north, and we can see gusts as high as 15, perhaps 20 miles per hour. But overall, though, we're turning quite cool late tonight with clear skies dropping down to the upper 30s and the low 40s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Watching me.
As we head down the stretch on this Thursday morning, a beautiful Thursday morning here on the coast. Portions of our program, of course, brought to you by our friends at Science, Data, and the Experts. As King Cooper announced, as you heard during the news break, most pandemic-related restrictions in North Carolina will be lifted on June 1st. including capacity limits on businesses, distancing requirements. The statewide mask mandate also might be adjusted, depending on what the science and the data tells us. As the science and the data, of course, has been driving this conversation for the past year. According to our fearless leader, King Cooper, here in the state of North Carolina, the King vaccinated, double masked, along with members of the media in our capital city. He is still unable to conduct face-to-face news briefings with members of the press. According to his statement yesterday, he's looking forward to doing them soon. In the meantime, well, depending on where you are here in our broadcast area, from my location right now, about 70 miles away from Freedom in the Palmetto State of South Carolina, and again, afforded the opportunity to travel to South Carolina, Texas, Louisiana, Florida over the last number of weeks. I don't know what this guy sees, hears, smells. Not really sure where he's at this point. Looking at the key metrics, of course. Then I'll look at lifting some of the restrictions. Quick trip to South Carolina, for instance, would show a sense of freedom that's unavailable here in the state of North Carolina. So will this coronavirus tunnel come to an end? Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Jeffrey Stevens is a political analyst. He's author of the new book, Fool's Errand, which I want to talk about in a moment. But Jeffrey, as we welcome you in, thanks so much for spending some time with us here this morning. I hope all is well.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So,
good morning.
And good morning to you. So is there light at the end of the coronavirus tunnel? You know, Florida, Texas, they've been open for a while. North Carolina, it's kind of the gray area. Then you go up to a place like Michigan, and they're blaming Florida for their issues up in the northern part of the country.
Listen, if you want to feel bad, I'm in the blue section of the country up here in Connecticut. So I'll tell you a quick personal anecdote. I get a note from my son this morning. I have a 5-year-old grandson. I know it's hard to believe I'm so young. I have a 5-year-old grandson, and some kid in his nursery school class tested positive for COVID. He has no symptoms. He's 5 years old, right? They shut down the entire school. My grandson has to quarantine at home for 14 days. His younger sister, who's not even in his class but is in the building, has to quarantine for 7 days. I mean, you want to talk about an overreaction? Meantime, everyone's getting vaccinated, and Fauci's wearing 2 masks. I mean, where is the logic to all of this? I don't get it.
Will common sense ultimately prevail here? It doesn't seem like it, because there are half of the country. There's half of the country that seems, in fact, bent on living the life like we see and hear stories from Connecticut, for instance. And then, like I said, you go down to Texas, and the bars are packed. People living their life, and I necessarily didn't feel any major threat in assessing my risk and going out on a limb and having a couple of beers out with some friends.
Joe, I'm so completely with you. I was in Florida in parts of January, February, and March, and people are complaining, oh, they're on top of each other and they're going to create the spread and all this. I'm telling you, I went out to restaurants. Now, granted, their weather is better than in Connecticut in January, February, and March. But the fact of the matter is, we sat in restaurants, we were served, we didn't wear masks. The serving people had to wear masks. I felt sorry for them. They've got to wear the thing for the entire shift. But the fact of the matter was, we didn't have a problem. Our friends down there are not having problems. So at some point, the light at the end of the tunnel has to be seen. We cannot allow the politicians who have an agenda about this to continue to control us by claiming that we're still in this grave danger. I'm not saying that COVID-19 wasn't real, but we're at a point where millions and millions of people in this country have been vaccinated, and it's the blue states that have been shut down that are having the biggest problems. What does that tell us? In the meanwhile, people are out of work, businesses are being destroyed, and they're taking accountability for that.
And it's just, once again, a knee-jerk reaction that has remained in place for the better part of the past year. I think everyone was in agreement. Similarly to the way we saw the trial play out and the situation with everyone in agreement at the time that something wasn't on the up and up, or something was unknown in relation to COVID. 15 days to stop the spread, remember? And here we are, 15 months later, and there are still places that are relatively shut down, and people look at you in a very different way, depending on where you are and how you are acting. I mean, here in North Carolina, like I said, we're in a bit of a gray area. Folks, somewhat, going against a lot of the mandates and, the requests by the governor. And then others, shame you if, in fact, you do go out on a limb and walk on the street by yourself without a mask. It's amazing, how complicated the situation has become based on politicians basically speaking out of both sides of their mouth.
Thank you very much. That's brilliantly said, because we were told that the left was going to follow the science. We're going to follow the science. Okay, so the science indicates that the vaccines, and I've had 2 Pfizer shots, and I feel great, and I never got COVID, and I was reasonably careful, but I got my 2 shots, and now I'm supposed to be 95% protected from getting it, and if I get it, I've got a 99% chance or something of surviving. So that's the same. That's about the same for me crossing a street in Manhattan or going into a bad neighborhood in Brooklyn. Or possibly catching some other disease. At some point, there are risks in life, but we have to get out there and we have to live our lives. And they're trying to prevent that because it gives them control. And that's what this is all about. It's all about control.
And, I'll mix in the fact that in the build-up to the 2020 election cycle is all about getting Orange Man bad out of Washington, D.C., and I think a lot of politicians and elites are very happy with the results that we saw play out in November. That's Republicans and Democrats alike. I mean, heaven forbid you have an outsider in there stirring the pot up every once in a while. It ruins their cocktail parties and their way of life up in Washington. It's amazing how
that's exactly right.
When you start to piece this all together. Jeffrey, while I have you, talk about Fool's Errand, your new book that is now out, and you can pick it up at Amazon, also at your website, jeffreystevens.com. Sounds like a pretty cool story. Give us a little insight on it.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a little different than other books that I've got out there, which were spy thrillers. This is more of a mystery kind of intrigue novel. And I did it because during the pandemic, family became so much more important. And, some of the family we're locked up with and some of the family you don't get to see. And so I came up with this idea, that conversation you sometimes have, like if you could spend one day with somebody who's gone from your life, who would it be? And some people say, if I could spend a day with Jesus Christ, if I could sit with Winston Churchill or JFK or whatever. But the large percentage of us say, what if I had another day with my mom or another day with my dad? So I came up with this idea. What if this young man finds a letter from his father that was written just before his father died 6 years earlier? And I thought, God, that would be really kind of interesting, almost like a chilling sense, your father speaking to you from the grave 6 years later. And so I built a story around it. And the story is that the letter tells this young man about a cache of money that the father wants the son to track down, but he can't give him too many clues in the letter in case somebody else got the letter instead of the son. So you got this guy who lived on the fringes of organized crime, who's now gone, and his son is a total straight shooter, and he has to decide when he finds the letter, do I go on this wild goose chase or do I put the letter back in the envelope? And since the name of the book is Fool's Errand, we know what he does. So it's an international treasure hunt. It goes from New York out to Las Vegas and winds up in the south of France, and it involves things that happened in World War II. And it's also about the son coming to terms with his relationship with his late dad, as well as himself and his own manhood. And there's romance, there's intrigue, there's action, there's danger. So it's really a fun read.
Jeffrey Stevens with us, author of the new book, Fool's Errand. You can pick it up, a copy at Amazon, or go right to his website at jeffreystevens.com. You can learn more about the author, catch his blog, search through some of the other books that he's written over the years. Jeffrey, you're a Bronx guy, huh? And that's where my family once long came from before it was to Jersey and now down to North Carolina. We continue to find our way
is that right?
outside. Yeah, so it's and my wife from Connecticut originally.
Well, I have to ask you this question. Not related by any chance to Jerry Catenacci from Connecticut, are you?
I'll have to look it up. I'm not sure. I've heard a couple of those tie-ins before. Not that I know of, but who knows?
Okay, because when I knew I was going to appear on your show, I sent him an email. I haven't heard back yet. I said, I'm going to be on Joe Catenacci's show in Wilmington. I was just wondering about that. By the way, folks, Jeffrey Stevens is with a PH in case you're looking for me on Amazon or the website. It makes it easier. So it's Jeffrey Stevens with a PH, and my website is Jeffrey Stevens, and you can look for the book and my other books on Amazon. But getting back to this thing, the article that we're talking about here that I wrote about Light at the End of the Tunnel, one of the main reasons I wrote it, as you know, at the end of it was I am so furious that people are giving Trump absolutely no credit for what he accomplished with Operation Warp Speed. They're trying to take all the credit for this thing as if they did this. He was the one who cut through the red tape. He's the one who leaned on these pharmaceutical companies. Now, the scientists did a great job, Joe. Let's face it, a miraculous thing to come up with a vaccine that quickly. But as that election neared, the media did everything they could to suppress it, to misinform about it. Our current vice president said, "I'll never take that vaccine, from Donald Trump." Meanwhile, she was the first person online to get it. So this is really what irritates me about what's going on with the mainstream media and how people are being lied to, in effect.
Yeah, just very sickening, frankly, when you put all the pieces of this puzzle together, and how many people have chosen fear to guide their way in this situation rather than putting it all together, and coming to a conclusion themselves. I guess that's what we get when a predominant amount of our people are educated by the government schools.
That's right. That's right. And private colleges, by the way, who are just to the left of Karl Marx.
Yeah, no doubt. Jeffrey, thanks so much for the time this morning. Good luck with your book, and we wish you well. I got to say, I love the Northeast. Well, at least used to love it. I have no desire to go up there other than to see 93-year-old grandma every once in a while.
Well, come in the good weather to see your grandmother. That's the key about being up here. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show, and good luck to you all. Stay safe.
That's JeffreyStevens.com. Stevens with a PH. His new book, Fool's Errand, available through his website at Amazon. He has a new article out. Is there light at the end of the COVID tunnel? Well, not in the state of Connecticut. That's known as the Constitution State, ironically, as we head to the top of the hour here on the Big Talker FM. 13 minutes in front of 10 a.m. You can chip in to our program at 910-299-7535. That's 910-299-7535. Later today, the commander-in-chief himself, the noble, empathetic man holding a climate summit. Among one of the speakers, the head of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping. If only we continue to make adjustments to the way we live, planet Earth will be saved. In fact, President Biden getting ready to announce later today that he has a goal of cutting gas emissions by 50% over the next several years. Well, I hate to tell him this, but the good news here is that this has been happening already for the better part of nearly 2 decades. The reason? A little thing called fracking, tapping into the vast natural gas resources below planet Earth, the surface of the Earth, I should say. Yet we're going to continue to go down this line that if we adjust our lives through more government and less freedom, we'll be able to save this vast 4.5 billion year old planet known as Earth. We are 11 minutes in front of the hour. Yeah, if it sounds like a clown show, it looks like a clown show, it might be a circus as we head to the top of the hour. Give us a call at 910-299-7535.
1, 2, 1, 2.
We interrupt to bring you this horrible news. Experts say we'll see larger numbers and different breeds of mosquitoes to wreak havoc on your backyard, making this year one of the worst.
You're not really using Culex around here, mosquito.
Yeah. Experts also say there is only one defense against this onslaught. Call the Bugman from Bugno Pest Control.
That's Mr. Bugno to you, pal.
Bugno Pest Control's mosquito-killing formula keeps your yard bug-free. Call Bugno Pest Control, 910-367-2501, or visit BugnoPestControl.com. Take back your yard.
Folks, we all know ongoing road construction and traffic can weigh heavy on your vehicle. Since 2006, O'Leary's Automotive Repair has provided comprehensive repair services at affordable prices to get you back on the road in no time. Their ASE certified technicians will help you find a cost-effective repair and maintenance alternatives. O'Leary's has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
I'm K.O. Davis from K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree, and I want to be your tree man.
When your trees need cut, 2 letters to know. One is a K, the other is an O. K.O.
Tree man.
Proper trimming is the most important thing that you can do, so don't just hire anybody to do it. You need someone that knows what they're doing.
K.O.
Call the professionals at K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree and visit KOTrees.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gabe Frank of the Frank Institute, and I want to tell you about our IV vitamin, infusion, and hydration therapies. These IVs are the most effective treatment for vitamin and nutrition deficiencies available, and with our wide range of offering, your treatment can be tailored to your specific needs. Whether you struggle with hydration or nutritional deficiency, injury recovery, low energy, please feel free to check out our IV infusions today. Schedule an appointment at 910-679-8534 or check out all our treatment services at www.frankinstitute.com.
This is Mark Markley, your host of Recovering Hope. I hope you can tune in this and every Wednesday evening from 6 to 7 and Sunday mornings at 10 to listen to real stories of real hope to recover from drug addiction and how so many have turned tragedies into helping others to know there is hope. You can listen to podcasts of previous shows or contact me at recoveringhope.org.
Parents, how old were you when you paid off your student loan? Are you still paying for it? Student debt can be crippling, and today it's even more important to keep debt in check. Help your student build a brighter financial future by encouraging them to attend Cape Fear Community College for the first 2 years. CFCC costs thousands less than four-year schools, and classes in our university transfer program are accepted at four-year schools across the state and beyond. Help your kids get a head start academically and financially at CFCC. Learn more at cfcc.edu.
Hey, this is Matt Ham, co-founder of Uprint Faith and Personal Development. Join myself and Kevin Adams every Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wilmington's Big Talker for a fun, uplifting conversation about the upside of upside-down living.
Chewing on a piece of grass, walking down the road. Tell me, how long you gonna stay here, Joe? Some people say
910-299-7535. Call that you're with us. Good morning.
Joe, I've loved the science lesson we've had today, but how about a real quick history lesson on this Green New Deal stuff we've spent all morning talking about? How about that right fast?
Yeah.
You remember 2019, they actually voted on this thing in the Senate, and it went down 0 to 57. 0 to 57. How'd that happen? Well, because 6 Democratic senators were running for president, and they had to give them cover, so they just blew the thing off. They all voted president, and it went down 0 to 57. One of them, by the way, is now our Vice President, Harris. So just remember, this thing's going to be a lot of sound and flurry, signifying a whole lot of nothing. It's not going to get passed. And when they did vote on it, they ran away from it. I don't think that much has changed in 2 years, my friend.
Yet now, Andy, it's been disguised as an American jobs plan, which, of course, for the American people, wow, American jobs, we need them. We've been shut down for the past year. We might as well spend the $2+ trillion. So where do we go from there, given that they've changed tactics on us over the last year or so?
Yeah, what they did is they've taken the climate core, which think American core, that sort of thing. They're going to have a climate core, and they've tried to segue that part of the American jobs plan that President Biden's pitching as this $2 trillion slush fund called an infrastructure bill, and they're trying to tie it back into this Green New Deal. But again, This is nothing new. If you took a press conference of 2019, which was Senator Markley and AOC, and the press conference Monday, which was Senator Markley and AOC, other than their outfits, you couldn't tell the difference between the two things. It's that much of a recycled thing. We just got to be vigilant with this stuff. It's not going to pass, but they will try to pull out. This is a message bill. You've heard that term. They're going to keep pulling out bits and pieces of it and try to pass it as years go by. So we might as well just read it. I've actually got the whole bill up in PDF form. Front page, ordinarytimes.com today. People can read and discuss it themselves. It's 14 pages. Read it. It's terrible. It would be horrible for the country while doing very little for the actual environment. Just read it for yourself. See how bad it is, because the individual pieces, like you said, Joe, they'll just keep trying to get it through in others' guises.
Hey, let me ask you, earlier this hour, we had Dylan Epp on. I mean, if you needed, an earth science lesson for your, freshman kids in government schools, I mean, why not tap into the resources that Dylan was able to provide? I learned more in 20 minutes than I think I did in all of science class through, 15 years of schooling.
Oh, yeah, the controlled burns. I drive through the ranges to go out to Southern Pines twice a week. My daughter has activities out there. They always have the controlled burns going. You've drove through West Virginia. Controlled burns are a big deal where I come from, because it's all forest. It's all mountains. So they got to really be careful to kind of keep down wildfires as best they can. And it's good. It's part of good steward. We talk about environmentalism. To me, on a personal level, what we can do, if you're a good steward of the earth and stewardship, you're a good Catholic boy from New Jersey, you know what that terminology means. If we take care of what we have and leave it better for the generation behind us with good things like good conservation policies, a lot of the environmental stuff's going to take care of itself. I'm not going to I'll just admit and say I don't know all the science stuff, but I know if we take care of it in these ways that we know work, that are time-proven ways to take good care of the climate around us, a lot of this stuff would work itself out, and then we wouldn't have to argue about it. And we sure wouldn't need the government to come in and take a whole lot of money for other auspices in the name of it.
Well, let me ask you then, why do we feel the need to, put car battery chargers inside the garages of every home? Why do we need to retrofit every single, piece of, appliance that goes into our home to conserve this, that, or the other? They told us to wash our hands now for 20 seconds or we may spread the COVID, but all the automatic, faucets that are out there only go on for 4 seconds. So how are we supposed to live in this crazy world that is dominated by government intrusion?
I'm all for the new technology. The problem is that too many people in the government has decided it's going to be electric only and nothing but electric when it comes to things like cars and things. You realize we've ran forklifts and things like this off natural gas for 20, 30, 40 years. Amazon just spent a ton of money buying 1,000-some heavy-duty tractor trailers that are going to be propane powered. There's hydrogen technology getting ready to come on. There's other things besides just electricity, because like the other people said, electricity, you still have to be able to provide that electricity for it. We should be investing and looking into all of these options, but it's not going to be through the government, because the government is funneling all their money into just one technology that, quite frankly, isn't ready for the load they want it to carry. We need to leave the market alone, let it come up, let it innovate, and a lot of this stuff will work itself out in the long run, my friend.
Andrew Donaldson over at Ordinary Times Magazine with us here this morning, ordinary-times.com. But we conduct these sorts of things, here in North Carolina. We talk about these controlled prescribed burns. West Virginia, as I mentioned. Why is it so difficult to get the folks out in California? And I know there's a lot of federal land out there that hasn't been upkept. But why, do we continue to blame climate change for the wildfires in California when we know there are things that we can help mitigate these types of things, yet we don't go forward and conduct these types of processes?
States were made to be environments and laboratories to do things their own way. California has really, really unique climate stuff, especially California where the wildfires are so bad. They have really unique climate stuff. They have the Santa Ana winds that come through. They have a specific geography stuff and the way they're right against the ocean. They're unique, but they've tried to take this top-down plan of things that are made for climate change that are popular today and slam it into their unique place instead of designing something uniquely for them. And now they have wildfires breaking out all the time. They would have some anyway, but there's science out there like the land management that he was talking about just a little bit ago, that if they did more of that they cannot do out there because of all the environmental restrictions. They can't do things like controlled burns and such things. It makes the problem inordinately worse. At some point, you just have to admit, like, hey, this is happening over and over and over and over again. Maybe we should just admit that what we're doing is not working and let's try something a little bit different. That's what real scientific method is. Science is not going to give you the truth. It eliminates all the things that don't work so you can keep looking for what does be the truth. And they just seem to want to keep doing over and over again the thing that don't work. That's not good scientific method. It's not good policy. It's not good for the people of California. I hope at some point the leadership will see the error of their ways and start changing course a little bit.
As always, thanks for the insight, Andrew. It's a pleasure. We'll catch up soon.
Appreciate you, buddy. Be careful going up to Virginia.
Have a great day, everyone.
Keeping Holden Beach informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Greenhouse gas emissions.
The United States is